A very good evening to all my dear students. So today is the last session with respect to chapter number 9 of your auditing and assurance subject. Chapter number 9, which is auditing of items of financial statements. Okay? And students, before starting with the today's topic, like there are 3 topics left which we'll be discussing today, and thereafter we'll be discussing the descriptive questions and the case scenarios and the revision if time permits. Okay? So students, I would like to ask you that whether you all are learning or whether you all have learned this chapter side by side, because yes, it is a lengthy chapter, but if you do it side by side, like when the session are proceeding, this chapter is going to be very, like it will appear to be very easy to you, right? But yes, you need to read the entire chapter and you need to make the summaries or you need to mark the keywords. Okay? I can see a number of you are saying that, ma'am, we have revised and we are ready, and that's good. So Pooja, with respect to provision and loans, I'll definitely try to revise them, but as you all know, time is always being a constraint here. So if time permits, I'll definitely revise all these topics. And most probably after the session, CA Rajiv Sardeva sir, he'll be addressing you all. So students, one more thing, keep on sending your queries that you want sir to resolve. Okay? So just send in all your queries with respect to the preparations for this subject, or any other query that is still unresolved. He'll definitely resolve all your queries. Okay? So with a very positive note, let us just start with today's topic. The first topic is what? Depreciation and amortization. Okay? So again, my first question to you people, quickly tell me which accounting standard comes to your mind when I say depreciation and amortization. Send in your replies. So Sandeep is also saying that he has learned. Parth is also saying that he has revised and he's ready with he's ready. Okay? So which accounting standard comes to your mind when I talk about depreciation and amortization? See, one of the basic principles, one of the key principles of accrual basis of accounting is that if an asset has been used by an organization, then the cost of the asset should be proportionately expensed over the period over which the asset is expected to be used. And unless and until such an expense is shown in the P&L, the P&L is not going to give a true and fair picture. Okay? So an organization will definitely charge depreciation with respect to what? The property, plant and equipment, and amortization with respect to what? Intangible assets. Intangible assets. Okay? And you all know that why all these happens, it can be due to efflux of time, obsolescence, or usage. So unless and until such charge with respect to cost of the assets, which is proportionately divided with respect to the time period over which the benefits of that asset is going to come to the organization, the P&L is not going to show the correct picture. So depreciation charge or amortization, depreciation is with respect to what? Your property, plant and equipment, and amortization charges with respect to your intangible assets. These are a significant part of the overall expenses that are coming in the P&L, and they have a great impact on the profit of an organization. Okay? So the auditor has to verify as to whether these charges, these are appropriate or not. These are correctly calculated or not. Whether these are as per applicable FRF or not, as per the requirements of Companies Act or not. So auditor will have to verify them. Okay? And students, we have touched upon these topics when we were discussing what? the audit with respect to the property, plant and equipment and the intangible assets. Okay? So I can see that Harsh has mentioned that with respect to the depreciation, AS10 revised comes to his mind, and with respect to intangible assets, AS26 comes to his mind. Okay? Further, students, Schedule 2 to the Companies Act. Hana? So it gives what? The useful lives of the asset. So that also the company has to consider. So auditor will see whether the depreciation charge or the amortization, whether that is appropriate or not, whether that is correctly calculated or not, whether that is as per the applicable FRF and the requirements of Schedule 2 to the Companies Act. Okay? So clear? So what all the auditor will consider when he is verifying, what depreciation and amortization. Now, again, imagine yourself in a situation whereby you have been asked to check various assertions. Okay? So how will you check depreciation and amortization? Quickly send in your replies. Depreciation को verify करना है, amortization को, various assertions with respect to depreciation and amortization. Quickly send in your replies. So I'm glad that students are saying that they are finding this chapter very, very easy. That's very good. Send in your replies. So first of all, see, auditor will consider what is the entity's policies with respect to what depreciation or amortization. Okay? And as we have seen that whether these are as per the accounting standards, whether these are being calculated as per the requirements of the Companies Act. And with respect to depreciation and amortization, the policy that has been followed, the accounting policy, whether that is consistent year on year, and if any change has been made, then whether the same has been disclosed or not. Okay? And students, you must be aware that when the organization is calculating the depreciation, the residual values of the asset needs to be considered. Now, what is residual value? See, it is the estimated amount that an organization will certainly obtain from disposal of the assets less the cost with respect to disposal of the asset. Okay? So, residual value is to be considered when an organization is calculating what the depreciation or the amortization charge. Then this depreciation or amortization should be valid. ऐसा ना हो कि asset तो है ही नहीं, depreciation वैसे लगा दिया, है ना? ठीक है? Then the auditor will see whether depreciation amortization has been recorded in the appropriate period. ठीक है? And the method that has been used is most appropriate, whether SLM has been used or WDV. So it should reflect the pattern in which the asset's future economic benefits are expected to be used by the organization. Okay? So the pattern of the expected benefits that should be reflected in the method that has been used, whether it is SLM. Agar it is, the benefits will accrue on the straight line basis, then SLM basis. If it will accrue on the diminishing basis, then the WDV basis. Okay? So let us quickly have a look from the module, and then we will proceed on with what the audit procedures. So you have seen that we have discussed that accrual basis of account may what is important, that depreciation and amortization ko you charge. Depreciation is what? It is systematic allocation of depreciable value of an item of PPE over its useful life, while amortization represent what? Systematic allocation of depreciable amount of what? Intangible asset over its useful life. Okay? And these are significant. So what all auditor has to verify, or what all he needs to consider when he's verifying depreciation and amortization. So general understanding about what all things. Understanding about the entity's policy, whether it is as per Companies Act applicable accounting standards, whether these policies are applied consistently year on year, and in case of any change, the same has been adequately disclosed, whether it is calculated after making adjustment of what? Residual value. ठीक है. Then whether these are valid, the PPE, the intangible assets, they should actually exist. अब उसके लिए कैसे check करना है, we'll discuss when we'll be discussing the audit procedures. Then whether these are accurately calculated, whether these are recorded in the appropriate period, है ना. Then whether ensure that parts or components of each item of property, plant and equipment, let's say aircraft is there, है ना, property, plant and equipment है ना. So with respect to various components, let's say seats, है ना, the belts, they may need to be replaced quickly. So with respect to with respect to parts of each item of PPE that are to be depreciated separately have been properly identified. A plant and machinery is there. It has a furnace. It has certain belts which needs the replacement quickly, है, so that need to be considered separately, and whether the most appropriate depreciation method has been utilized for depreciable component, है. And we already know that what depreciation method should reflect. It should reflect the pattern in which the asset's future economic benefits are expected to be consumed by the entity. Okay? So let me just have a look at your answers. You have said that check PPE method whether it is consistent or not, the AS applied or not. Asset register, yes, fixed asset register when the asset has been used. So who has said this? Vinay, you are correct. Then recomputation of depreciation and amortization part, you are absolutely correct. Then Pooja is saying the amount, the method, the list of asset, correct. Sandeep is saying that whether these are recorded in appropriate period. Then Harsh is saying appropriate depreciation method should be used. Sandeep said that accounting policies, Hannah. Okay. So with respect to the various audit procedures that the auditor can perform in order to verify the various assertions with respect to depreciation and amortization. So let us quickly have a look. These are very simple, so I'll just discuss them from the module itself. Okay? So first of all, obtain an understanding of the entity's process of charging depreciation and amortization. So what is the entity's process? Okay? So the auditor should obtain what fixed asset register. Now, let me just explain this to you. See, it might be possible now that in order to inflate the profits, any expense that was to be charged to P&L, but the company has the intention to inflate the profit. So the company has capitalized such asset and charge only the depreciation part. However, the entire expense was supposed to be charged to P&L and vice versa. Let's say in order to decrease the profits, so the company has charged a capital kind of expenditure to the P&L. So a risk is always there with respect to what the fixed assets, the intangible assets. So auditor will have to consider the nature of asset. For this, he can always check what the fixed asset register. Fixed asset register contain the detail as to what all asset, the quantity, the amount, everything is mentioned there as to what all assets have been purchased. So the fixed asset register can be used to verify as to what asset has been purchased. Okay? So auditor can always check it from the fixed asset register, and if auditor has a doubt कि कोई fake asset तो नहीं है, so what can auditor do in order to verify as to whether there is a fake asset or not? Fake plant and machinery है नहीं, जाके देख लो ना, inspect कर लो ना, है ना? So auditor can always, he can physically verify the asset. ठीक है? Then auditor can obtain a list of all the additions, all the deletions, and this you have already done when we were discussing PPE and intangible assets, that every addition, every deletion needs to be approved by the authorized person. ऐसी थोड़ी ना कोई भी सेल कर देगा, कोई भी add on कर लेगा, कोई भी plant and machinery. Authorized personnel should approve it. So see, since depreciation amount is very much affected by all these things, that is why all these things are been included in depreciation verification. Okay? And auditor can always, select a sample of assets from the fixed asset register. है ना? And with like based on let's say materiality, an auditor can recompute the depreciation, the amortizations amounts. ठीक है? Students, now you can see now that you are actually able to answer correctly. ठीक है? And I always say the language that you have to use, उसके लिए तो you will have to refer to the module. ठीक है? And the keywords, the commanded language that is required out of you, for that you need to refer to the module. ठीक है? But now since we have been doing this chapter since the last 5 sessions, so now you are in a position to frame the answer by yourself. I'm sure about this. ठीक है? So he will obtain a list of all the components. He will see whether intangible assets are properly amortized or not. ठीक है? And the depreciation charge should come from what? From the date when the asset is what? Ready to use. Why? Because depreciation includes what? Flux of time. है ना? obsolescence, usage तो होता ही है, but flux of time भी तो होता है, obsolescence भी तो होता है. That is why from the date the asset is what? Ready to use. ठीक है? And in case of depreciation on revalued amount, the same should be accounted for. The same should be accounted for from where? From the revaluation reserve. ठीक है? And student, you all must be aware now that there is a difference between the depreciation as per the Companies Act and the depreciation as per the Income Tax Act. है ना? तो उसमें क्या करना है? See, whatever additions are made during the year, that are going to be same ना. Additions तो same ही आएंगे ना. उसके बाद like if the auditor wants to see the WDV with respect to the tax audit report, so previous year की tax audit report से compare कर सकते हैं ना, है ना? Preceding year के WDV, closing WDV को auditor can refer ना. ठीक है? Simple. And last but not the least, various analytical review procedures, SA 520, है ना? Auditor can always calculate that. Auditor can recompute the depreciation, the amortization amount. If there are any differences, the same can be discussed with the management. ठीक है? And last but not the least, it says that, see, if there has been a change in the accounting policy, we always say that it needs to be from retrospective effect. है ना? However, when there is a change in the useful life of the asset, ठीक है? For example, let's say diesel vehicles are there. For that, useful life has been decreased from, let's say, 10 to 7 years or 18 to 15 years. है ना? So that effect will be considered from prospective, from this day. है ना? So let me just take you through the module, what has been mentioned. So obtain an understanding of the entity's process of charging depreciation and amortization. ये तो समझ आता है. Fixed asset register को obtain करो. And what is the risk that an entity could capitalize expense of revenue nature? Why? To increase the profit, है ना? तो उसको capitalize करके सिर्फ depreciation charge कर लिया. Why? In order to just a minute. ठीक है? In order to increase the profits and charge capital expenditure directly in income. Why? To reduce the profits. So to address, auditor may choose to check the nature from what? Fixed asset register. Further, कि कोई fake asset तो नहीं है, उसके लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? उसके लिए physically verify कर लो ना fixed assets को. Obtain addition, deletion का list सारा ले लो, and this should be what? Approved from the authorized person. ठीक है? Then take a sample of assets on materiality basis and verify the rates and depreciation calculate. You can recalculate that. Obtain a list of all the components that you have already done. ठीक है? Intangible assets and they should need to be amortized. Ensure that depreciation is charged from the date it is ready to use and not from the date of actual usage. है ना? And revalued amount which depreciation and that needs to be properly accounted from where? From revaluation reserve. This is related to your income tax act. That additions तो सेम ही होंगे ना. हाँ, अगर आपको ओपनिंग WDV चेक करना है, then preceding year का जो भी ऑडिट था वहां से you can, or the closing WDV you can consider that. ठीक है? Various analytical procedures that can be performed is overall reasonableness of depreciation and amortization expense. इतना rate of depreciation है, इतना amount of plant and machinery है, तो इतना depreciation is what? Reasonable. And in case of any difference is there, then the same significant variations are there, the same can be discussed with the management. ठीक है? And we have seen that you need to refer to what? Useful lives, residual values, and this point I was talking about. Ensure that depreciation and amortization have been computed prospectively when there is any change in the useful lives of PPE and intangible assets. So it should be charged as what? Prospectively when there is a change in the useful life of the PP or intangible asset. I gave you example of what? Your diesel vehicle. Agar change ho jata to you will consider it prospectively, and whether the following disclosures, that to accounting policy for depreciation and amortization, the useful lives as per schedule 2, the residual value and the depreciation method. Okay? And what is this table? It basically says what that based on your method, whatever you compute, you do your calculations, actual depreciation that has been shown, if there is any variance, ask the reasons. Okay? So this will form part of what? The working papers of the auditor. Okay? So with this we have done what? Depreciation and amortization. I'll quickly just within 2 or 3 minutes revise it. So we saw that charging of depreciation or amortization is a key principle of what? Accrual basis of accounting. Okay? Depreciation is with respect to your PPE and your amortization with respect to intangible assets, AS 10, AS 26, and schedule 2 with respect to what? Useful lives. Okay? So auditor will consider what are the entities policies. ठीक है, कंपनीज एक्ट अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड को कंप्लाई हुआ है नहीं, कंसिस्टेंटली अप्लाई हुआ है नहीं, एंड इन केस ऑफ एनी चेंज adequately disclosed हुआ है नहीं. Residual value should have been considered. The charges should be what? Valid. Accurately calculate होना चाहिए, appropriate period में होना चाहिए. Each components of each item of PPE should have been depreciated. ठीक है, and most appropriate method should have been used. ठीक है, तो क्या करना है? First of all, obtain an understanding कि management की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का क्या प्रोसेस है वो चार्जिंग डेप्रिसिएशन और अमोर्टाइजेशन. फिक्स्ड एसेट रजिस्टर को ले लो, बट रिस्क इज ऑलवेज देयर. उस रिस्क को कैसे रिजॉल्व कर सकते हो? फिजिकली वेरीफाई कर सकते हो, फिक्स्ड एसेट रजिस्टर से नेचर देख सकते हो. ऑब्टेन अ लिस्ट ऑफ व्हाट? एडिशंस और डिलीशंस अप्रूव्ड होने चाहिए ऑथराइज्ड पर्सनल से. सिलेक्ट द सैंपल्स बेस्ड ऑन मटेरियलिटी एंड रिकम्प्यूट द डेप्रिसिएशन. ठीक है, intangible assets should be amortized. Depreciation should be from the point when the date from the when the asset is what? Ready to use, and not from the date of actual usage. ठीक है, revalued है तो it should be adjusted from what? Revaluation reserve. And there is a difference with respect to what? IT, but income tax के and companies act at depreciation. So, but the additions will be the same, जो भी during the year हुआ. Analytical procedures can be performed. And then with respect to a change in useful life, तो prospective, it will be considered what? Prospectively. And what all disclosures क्या policy है, ठीक है, and useful life क्या है, residual value क्या है, and method क्या है. ठीक है, so with this we have covered what? Depreciation and amortization, and I hope that it is clear because it is students very, very simple. ठीक है, quickly send in your replies whether you have understood. Please send in your replies. ठीक है, so now see students, the next topic is what? Other expenses, है ना. So what all expenses we have considered? अभी तक क्या क्या देखा था हमने? We have done purchases, है ना. Then we did purchases, we have done. Then we did employee benefit expenses. Then we did depreciation and amortization. So apart from these expenses, there are what? Various other expenses, so which has been covered in this topic, which is what? Other expenses. So here we'll be discussing about rent, we'll be discussing about power and fuel, insurance, travel, printing, maintenance. So very general, you are going to find this very easy. Okay? So Acha, you all tell me, if you have to verify the various assertions with respect to expenses, like let's say rent, tell me what will be your audit procedures. Okay? What all documents you are going to check. Okay? Make the answers on your own and practice it here itself. I'm waiting for your replies. Vinay is saying, ma'am, I'm able to understand, but I'm not able to remember. See, for remembering part only, na, I tell you that after the end of the session, you need to read the chapter. You need to read the chapter twice. You need to make the summaries or mark the keywords and start learning side by side. है ना? इसीलिए तो I used to say all these things in the last 5 sessions with respect to this chapter. ठीक है? So अभी भी अगर नहीं हुआ है तो start learning ना. Don't look at this chapter like it is a lengthy chapter. Just try to, on one day cover the asset size of the balance sheet. On the other say a day cover the liability side. Next day cover the income side of P&L and then the expense. So many of you are saying rent agreement, which is absolutely correct. Then reasonableness test, which is also correct. Monthly rent, which is correct. ठीक है? So कैसे लिखना है? Let us just have a look. ठीक है? Auditor has to see क्या क्या देखना है कि whatever expense is there, it should have been incurred in what current period only. Simple. Then it should be of revenue nature, capital nature का नहीं होना चाहिए. Then auditor will see what valid supporting documents. है ना? फॉर एग्जाम्पल ट्रैवलिंग है तो ट्रैवल टिकट्स, इंश्योरेंस है तो इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी, है ना? ऑल दोज थिंग्स. देन इट शुड बी क्लासिफाइड अंडर करंट हेड. एनी लेट्स से योर रिपेयर्स टू प्लांट एंड मशीनरी को परचेजेस में थोड़ी ना दिखाएंगे, तो इट शुड बी अंडर करंट हेड and it should always be authorized, है ना? So it should be authorized as per the authorized matrix, authorization matrix. What is that authority matrix? See, the person who is authorized to approve the expenditure, it might be possible now that there are certain there is a personnel who has been given the responsibility to approve the expenses relating to travel. Other person is looking at what? The rent. Or it might be possible that up to rupees 5,000 X will be approving. Beyond 5,000, 2 persons will be approving. So whatever is the authority matrix, this expense should be authorized. It must be approved, and it should relate to the entity's business. It should not happen that there is a rent which has been paid and that premises has been used for the personal use of the directors. If it has been used for the business operations, then only that will be allowed as an expense. Okay? So, see, abhi I'm not talking about rent as such, I'm talking about the other expenses as a whole. Okay? So, what we have to do, that current period se relate hona chahiye. It should be of revenue nature, valid supporting documents को auditor will see, correct head के अंदर आना चाहिए, it should be authorized, and it should be what? Entity's business. ठीक है? So all of these the auditor has to consider. ठीक है? So now we'll be discussing the various rents one by one, starting with various expenses one by one, starting with what? Rent expense. ठीक है? So very, very simple. ठीक है? Just trying to imagine yourself in a situation that you are actually verifying the rent expense, let's say of rupees 30 lakhs, which has been paid by the organization during the year. ठीक है? तो कैसे करोगे? First of all, you need to obtain the month-wise expense schedule, that monthly what all rent has been paid, and you will see it compare it with what? The rent agreements. ठीक है? Then auditor will verify that the rent should have been recorded for all the 12 months, and it should be in agreement with what? Like basically it's saying that whatever you have obtained in the first point, verify that, compare all these documents. Okay? Now student, there is one escalation clause, है ना? होता है ना, that every year there will be an increase of, let's say, 10% in the rent, है ना? So if any such escalation is what? Increasing, है ना? तो escalation clause है, so auditor need to consider that also, and verify that if the rent agreement should be in the name of the entity, and it should have been used, the premises should have been used for running the business operations of the entity. It should not happen that the MD is using it for his personal use. No, then such rent will not be allowed. No? It should be used for running the business operations. Okay? So that was with respect to what? Rent agreements. Okay? Simple hai? Oh, I've got a number of replies. So monthly schedule, accrual basis, current year का होना चाहिए. Please explain. ठीक है? So This was with respect to your rent expense. Then power and fuel expense. Okay? Again, इसमें month-wise expense schedule along with the power bill. Simple. Whether it has been recorded for all the 12 months. Simple. Then what auditor can do is he can have a look at whatever units have been consumed. Okay? What is the applicable rate? See, meters are installed in each and every factory. So he can always, or ask the organization, the personnel of the entity, that please tell me what units have been consumed. What is the applicable rate? And he can see the arithmetical accuracy with respect to the bills that has been raised. Okay? Then auditor can perform what? He can see what is the power that has been consumed during the year and compare it with the units of finished goods produced, and compare it with what? The monthly, as in during every month, how much power has been consumed, how much production of units have been there, and if there is a significant variance, the same can be discussed with the management. Okay? Simple with respect to power and fuel. Insurance. Obtain a summary of all the insurance policies and their validity period. Okay? It might be possible that certain insurance is prepaid, in advance has been given, or if any expense is what period based on the number of days, so consider that. Okay? You can write other points also, that it should be in the name, like auditor will see who are, for what all persons these insurance policies have been taken, for what all purposes these have been taken. Okay? Approved hai nahi, every all that can also be mentioned. Okay? Legal and professional expense. Abhi I am not discussing it. Abhi I am asking you to imagine. Now you are in a situation whereby you have been asked to verify the legal and professional expenses. Batao kya kya karoge? Legal and professional expenses. That is any expert expense. The services of the expert are being used by your client. So how will you verify those payments? Meanwhile, I'll have a look at your queries. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies with respect to what? Verification of legal and professional expenses. See again, auditor can obtain what? A month-wise schedule, ki kitna payment kiya hai, theek hai? And students, in case of legal and professional expenses, see, it might be possible that the organization has hired some legal expert on a retainership basis. That is for all the 12 months. The client has retained that legal expert, ki as in when we will have some complex issues, you will, you are going to provide your services. So retainership basis. So us case mein to there will be payment of 12 months. So auditor will see that whether the payments, he will verify the payments with respect to 12 months. Retainership basis is what? The organization has retained that person for a long period, that with respect to this period, you will be giving us the advice on the complex matters related to your field. Okay? And it might be possible that there are certain non-recurring expense ki koi sudden case aa gaya, uske liye the organization has hired another legal expert. So us case mein auditor will see what? He will see the various assertions of the various documents with respect to that non-recurring expense. Okay? Further, if you remember, when we did essay 501 and we discussed about litigations and claims, so one of the point was what? That the auditor can check the legal expense account. Why? So students, it might be possible that there is a legal expense, let's say amounting to rupees 10 lakhs. And it has been given, the company has paid it with respect to a dispute which has not been disclosed to the auditor. You ask the auditor, ki auditor, out of 50 lakhs, your total expense of 50 lakhs, the organization has given you explanation of what? 40 lakhs legal and professional expense explanation. The management has never revealed you about what this dispute. So auditor needs to be alert when he is, verifying the legal and professional expenses. Why? Because there might be possible that when he is verifying, he may come across a situation whereby any of the dispute which has not been disclosed by the management now comes into the picture. Okay? So this was with respect to your legal and professional expense. Let us quickly have a look. So month-wise, obtain a month-wise and consultant-wise summary. Simple. Monthly retainership agreements, that for all 12 months it should have been recorded, and non-recurring expenses hai to select a sample and vouch. What is meant by vouch? We have already done this in our chapter number 3 when we discussed about what vouching and verification. So see, vouching is basically when you're reviewing a document in order to see whether it has been correctly shown in the accounting entries or not. So vouching, reviewing any of the documents, okay? And the auditor should be cautious, alert while vouching of legal expense, as the same may highlight a dispute for which the entity may not have made any provision, or the matter may also not have been discussed or highlighted to the auditor. Provision bhi nahi banaya, and it might be possible ki auditor ko bhi nahi bataya. Okay? So this was with respect to your legal and professional expenses. Let me just have a look at your replies. So students are saying, Pooja said that all 12 monthly schedule, check the invoices. Okay? So I can say the agreements and all. Then Menon is saying 12-month record, whether it is correct or not. Okay? Parth is saying check with the previous year. Yes, previous year comparisons with respect to all the expenses can be done, and in case of significant variations, auditor need to analyze it and ask the management for the reasons. Okay? Same way with respect to travel repair, you can always say obtain a list. Anna? Then sample of the various expenses, vouch the attributes. Vouch the attributes is vouch, just check them in detail, है ना, कुछ samples को, ठीक है? Then auditor can prepare a summary of all the expenditure on monthly basis and analyze the trend that last year say how much change has been there. And auditor can calculate expenditure per unit of production analysis, कि कितना expenditure हुआ है last year and कितना products produce हुए हैं during the every month wise, that monthly expenditure vis-a-vis monthly production per unit. So he'll be able to analyze what expenditure per unit of production analysis, and he can compare it with what the previous year, or he can compare it with what the industry trends, and in case of any significant variations, he can ask for the reasons from the management. As simple as that. Okay? So what are the disclosure requirements? That these should be separately shown as rent, insurance, sub, everything. Okay? Clear? Okay? Now, with this, we have finished the audit of various items of financial statement, except for these notes, which we'll be doing these quickly before the break. Okay? So I hope the entire chapter, whatever we have done so far, is clear. And for all those who are saying that they are finding it, difficult to remember, so students, please, that is why I always say that please follow the strategies, the techniques that are being discussed with you in the session. So with respect to this chapter, even if you have not done this chapter side by side, now abhi start doing it. Okay? Take 4-5 days, and on one day just divide this chapter into 4-5 parts and try to make summaries or highlight the keywords and try to learn the keywords. Why? Because I always tell you that language plays a very important role in your examination. You will fetch good marks with good language only. Okay? So now let us have a look at the various notes which have been added by the amended schedule 3. So these were effective from what? 1st April 2021. Okay? So there are certain requirements, see, with respect to the various items which have discussed. So whatever were the disclosure requirements with respect to those items that we have discussed then and there only when we were discussing those topics. So these are the items that are as such not related to the topics that we have discussed about. Okay? However, the disclosures are required. Okay? Corporate social responsibility, the CSR. Okay? So you all must have done section number 135. Send in your replies. of the Companies Act. So with respect to the expenditure that the company has to incur on corporate social responsibility, now there is a responsibility on the management, on the client itself, that listen client, you yourself need to disclose what expenditure you have done on CSR separately in the notes to accounts. Okay? So what are those requirements? Okay? So it says that where a company covered under section 135, see, based on the turnover, net profit or the net worth, there are certain criteria as to these companies have to incur so much of the expenditure on corporate social responsibility. Okay? So the following shall be disclosed with regard to CSR activities. CSR activities are like, if any donation has been made for environmental benefits or health, or education, maybe for promoting the girls' education. Okay? So what are those? So the company is required to disclose the amount required to be spent by the company during the year. So whatever was the amount in terms of section 135, so what was the amount of expenditure incurred. First में क्या है कि कितना amount incur करना था required, and second is how much you have actually incurred. So just imagine what will be third. What is the difference, the shortfall between the two? Okay? The shortfall between the two. Okay? And then if there are any shortfall of the previous years also, then what is the reason of the shortfall? Why the organization has not been able to, incur the minimum expenditure on CSR which was required to be done. ठीक है, the nature of CSR activities, अगर कोई expenditure किया, what is the nature? Health है, environment है, education है, girl child है, क्या है? ठीक है, and details of related party transaction, example contribution to a trust controlled by the company. Let's say there is X Limited, and X Limited gives a donation to a trust which has been controlled by X Limited itself, है ना? So so that trust becomes related party, ना? So if any such contribution has been made to a related parties, then that is to be disclosed separately here, ठीक है? And if any provision has been made with respect to the CSR, the organization has entered into a contractual obligation that will be paying itna towards will be paying itna donation. So if any provision has been made, that same needs to be shown separately. Okay? So now there is a responsibility on the client itself कि client आपको ही अपने notes to accounts में mention करना है. क्या क्या mention करना है? That कितना required था CSR expenditure during the year, कितना amount आपने incur किया, what is the shortfall, है ना, at the end of the year of the previous year shortfall, what is the reason, है ना, और अगर किया है तो what is the nature of CSR activities, related party, as in I gave example of what trust, whereby the company is controlling that trust, then that need to be mentioned, and if any provision has been made. Okay? So this was what about corporate social responsibility. And students, all these notes now you must have done in your paper number 1 also. So who all are saying that ma'am we have done this in law section 135. So what is the second point? See, it says that depending upon the total income of the company, the figures appearing in financial statement shall be rounded off as given below. So what is the amendment? That earlier this word shall was what? May. So earlier an option was given that the company may round off, but now what has been included? That the company shall round off. Okay? So if the total income is what? It is less than 100 crores. So the rounding off will be what? Nearest hundreds, thousand, lakhs or millions. Okay? And if it is more than 100 crores or more, it will be what? To the lakhs, millions and crores. Okay? And it will be used uniformly in the entire financial statement. Simple. Okay? Okay? Now, with respect to third point, details of Benami property held. Quickly tell me, what do you understand by Benami? Send in your replies. So I'm waiting for your reply, students. Untitled, ठीक है. See, Benami is what? Without name or no name. Okay? So where a person's own name is not used, but the name of any other person or any fictitious person is used instead with respect to a property, so that becomes what? A Benami property. Okay? So it might happen, see, why is this, see, Benami property is just a way to park what? The black money. So it might happen, the company has a property which is not in the name of the company. Maybe it is in the name of some distant relative. Hana? So since there is a difference of what ownership and management in case of companies, the owners, the shareholders have a right to know about any such property. Hana? So that is why now there has been a requirement on the company itself, that company, if there is any proceedings under the Benami Transactions Prohibition Act 1988, then you need to disclose all things by your own, Hana, on your own. See, if the organization is disclosing it in the notes to accounts, see, it will bring a bad reputation to the organization. Hana? And now there is a responsibility which has been imposed on the client itself कि आपको खुद से ही ये सब disclose करना है. Auditor will then see that whether that disclosure is in terms of Schedule 3 or not. ठीक है? So what is that requirement? We will see. So what is it? Benami, I told you that without a name, Hana, or someone else name. Okay? So where any proceedings have been initiated or pending against the company is a client, for holding any Benami property under the Benami Transaction Prohibition Act 1988 and the rules made thereunder, the company shall disclose the following. So what all disclosures are required? The details of such property and the year of acquisition, amounts, detail of beneficiaries who are actually getting the benefits out of that property. Okay? If the property is in books, if it has been shown in the books, then reference to the item in the balance sheet. And if it has not been shown in the books, okay, books में नहीं दिखाया है, but it has been owned by the company itself, then what are the reasons why you have not reflected that property in the books? Okay? Then where there are proceedings against the company under this law as an abater of the transaction or transferor, then the details. So company has to declare by itself, has to disclose by itself that, see, there are proceedings on me. Company will see, this is going to bring a bad reputation. Goodwill pe to impact aayega hai na iska. Why? Because the investors, when they have a look at this, they will think that why the company has done all these things. Okay? And last, the nature of proceedings, the status of same, and the company's view on the same. Okay? Now, what is abater? Basically, the person who initiates or who encourages such transaction, abater. Okay? So company will have to write on its own that, see, I am an abater. See, I am a transfer of a Benami property. So there is a disclosure requirement with respect to the company, with respect to Benami transactions, and the disclosure has to be made by the company itself in its notes to accounts. Okay? So clear? Now the next point, which is what? Relationship with struck off companies. Okay? In terms of section 248 of the Companies Act 2013 or section 560 of the Companies Act 1956. Okay? Students, it might be possible that it often happens that there are companies whereby they have no business. So the ROC says that if you are not running any business, then why are you registered? So the ROC has struck off the names of various companies. The list is available on the MCA site. Now tell me, if our organization XYZ Limited, it has to receive, let's say, 150 crores from a company whose name has been struck off by ROC. Now see, the shareholders need to know all these things. So that is why there is a requirement that in case you have any relationship with the struck off companies, now their names have been struck off. है ना, by the registrar of companies, then you will have to give various details. You will say, I mean, the company has to give various details, and what are those details? If the company has any transactions with companies struck off under section 248 of the Companies Act 2013 or section 560 of the Companies Act 1956, the company shall disclose the following. What all these? Name of struck off company, nature of transaction, was it investment in securities, was it some receivable, or is it some payable, or is it the shares held by struck off companies, or other outstanding balance, whatever is it, the nature is to be disclosed. Okay? Then what is the balance outstanding? See, if suppose there is a receivable of, let's say, 150 crores, so this is very important now for the shareholders to know that itna amount is receivable from a company whose name has been struck off, है ना? Then the relationship with the struck off company, if any, to be disclosed. Let's say if it is a subsidiary, associate, joint venture, if any such relationship is there, then the company has to give a disclosure of the same. ठीक है? So क्या क्या किया अभी तक हमने? We have done in disclosure the CSR requirements. Then we did what? Total income का rounding off. Then we did what? Benami property. And then we did what? Relationship with the struck off companies. ठीक है? Now the fifth one. Following ratios are to be disclosed. A very important amendment. ठीक है? So पहले क्या होता था? As such ratios were not required to be disclosed by the company. ठीक है? So if any of the investors, anyone who wanted to know, अच्छा, what is the current ratio, he has to calculate. But now these are readily available for the investors, for the users to see. See, all these ratios now, it is going to give a picture of the liquidity position, of the risk, of the profitability of the company. Hai? So, and bird's eye view as to what is the performance of the company. So, what all ratios? So, 11 ratios. The organization, the company is required to disclose all these ratios by, because these are going to be very much useful for the investors. These are readily available. They can understand the risk, the profitability, the liquidity with respect to the company. Okay? So what are these? You must have done these in your financial management. Hana? So current ratio, debt equity ratio, debt service coverage ratio, return on equity ratio, inventory turnover ratio, trade receivables debt turnover ratio, trade payables turnover ratio, net capital turnover ratio, net profit ratio, and return on capital employed and return on investment. Okay? So for the purpose of auditing and assurance, as such, you need not, learn the formulas or all, but I am sure that otherwise also you must be aware about all the formulas. Okay? And further it says that whatever numerator and denominator you are using in order to calculate, so the company needs to explain that also. Company shall explain, shall. Okay? Further, if from the preceding year there has been a change of 25%, change has been is mentioned. Change matlab plus minus kuch bhi in these ratios, then a further explanation shall be provided for any change in the ratio by more than 25% as compared to preceding year. More than 25%. If there has been a change, it may be increase or decrease, then a further explanation is required. Okay? And students are saying that yes, they have done this in their financial management. Okay? So easy, but a very important, change. So you can always be asked, say, what question can be asked that with respect to audit of XYZ Limited, what all disclosure requirements the auditor needs to verify with respect to what the various ratios. So you will mention all these, all the 11 ratios. Okay. Now, with respect to what cryptocurrency or virtual currency. So this is basically the last topic. Cryptocurrency, virtual currency, these are what? These are electronic digital currency. Okay? As such, no bank issues them. However, if your client, the company, it has traded or invested in cryptocurrencies, your Bitcoin, your Litecoin, है ना, or any other virtual currency, then the following shall be disclosed. क्या क्या disclose करना है? Whatever profit or loss on transactions involving cryptocurrency or virtual currency is there. तो profit or loss on the transactions. Amount of cryptocurrency held as at the reporting date, as at the end of the period. If any of such currency has been held, then mention that. And if the company has received any deposits or advances from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in cryptocurrency or virtual currency, okay? So that will also be mentioned that so and so person, let's say the associate, the subsidiary, they have also given the deposits in order to invest them in the cryptocurrency or the virtual currency, okay? Clear? So what all notes we have done with respect to CSR? We have seen that the companies which are covered under section 135, तो क्या देखना है? What is the amount required to be spent? कितना actual में हुआ spend incurred? What is the difference? Shortfall of earlier years? What is the reason? And CSR में what is the nature? Related party का हुआ है या कोई provision create हुआ है? Round off में क्या change है? पहले may होता था, now it is what? Obligatory हो गया, shall. ठीक है. Then Benami property में it says that if any of the proceeding has been initiated or it is pending against the company under Benami Transactions Prohibition Act 1988, है ना, or the rules made thereunder, company को क्या क्या disclose करना है? Details of such property including year of acquisition, amount, details of beneficiaries, whether it has been shown in the balance sheet, then the line item. If it has not been shown in the books, then what is the reason? ठीक है. Whether there are proceedings whereby you are the abater or you are the transferor, and the nature of proceeding status and what is your say. ठीक है. Then relationship with struck off companies. If the company is having any transaction with any of the struck off companies, so this table, that is what is the name of the struck off company, what is the nature of transaction with struck off companies, balance outstanding, and the relationship is to be disclosed. ठीक है. Ratios, you have seen all these 11 ratios along with the explanation of what the numerator and the denominator, and if in case there has been a change of what 25%, more than 25%, then as compared to the preceding year, then the company needs to give a further explanation. And with respect to any trading or investment in cryptocurrency or virtual currency, then what is the profit or loss with respect to that currency, the amount of currency that has been held on the reporting date, and if any deposits and advances has been received from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in the currency, then that is to be what? Disclosed. ठीक है. Yes, Pooja, you can always write. So Pooja is saying, अच्छा रुको, wait Pooja. So with this, we have finished this chapter. ठीक है. So abhi we'll be discussing the descriptive question and the case scenarios. And as I've told you that after the session, sir will be interacting with you. So students, please send in your queries that you want sir to answer. ठीक है. So please send in your queries with respect to preparation or, you know, last time Parth has asked a query with respect to, I think, time management, right? So please send those queries again. ठीक है. And Pooja is saying, can we write additional points that in expenses, like 12 months wala point in traveling? Yes, all those can be written. Like obtain a list, है ना, and 12 months से compare कर लो. ठीक है. अच्छा, reimbursement. Pooja is saying, ma'am, reimbursement बता दो. ठीक है. So I'll do that. See, there was a point with respect to reimbursement, है ना, in provisions and contingent liability. So it basically says, students, keep on sending your queries so that these can be resolved now before discussing what descriptive questions. So let me just take you through that, take you to that point. ठीक है, this point. So when we did the provisions and contingent liability ka disclosure, so there was a point that the amount of expected reimbursement, ठीक है, तो I told you, let's say the warranty, the company has given certain warranties, a provision has been made. However, the company has also taken an insurance with respect to the payment of the warranty claims, है ना. तो अब क्या होगा? The insurer will be paying the warranty claims ना, either तो company को pay कर देगा या directly to the purchasers को pay कर देगा. ठीक है. या it might be possible कि company is paying to the claimers, जो भी purchasers हैं, and the company is getting a reimbursement from the insurer ना, ठीक है. So that is why the amount of any expected reimbursement. So what I have said कि XYZ Limited LLC, ठीक है, इसने वारंटी क्लेम्स दिए हैं वेरियस कस्टमर्स को और उसके ऊपर इट हैज टेकन एन इंश्योरेंस. तो इट माइट बी पॉसिबल ना कि जो भी क्लेम्स आए हैं विच XYZ लिमिटेड इज पेइंग टू द परचेजर्स, अब सिंस दीज हैव बीन इंश्योर्ड तो इसका रिइंबर्समेंट क्लेम कर लेगा ना XYZ. सो दैट इज व्हाई द अमाउंट ऑफ एक्सपेक्टेड रिइंबर्समेंट. ठीक है पूजा, आई होप नाउ इट इज क्लियर. सुरभि अबेटा मीन्स द इनिशिएटर, किसी को उकसाना है ना, कि खुद से ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं किया बट आपने इनिशिएट, आपने किसी को एनकरेज किया वैसे ट्रांजैक्शन करने के लिए. ठीक है. सो लेट मी जस्ट ओपन द फाइल with respect to the descriptive questions. So students, send in your queries and also the queries that you want me to ask, sir. Send in your queries. So the descriptive questions and the case scenario. So there is a query. Ria is saying, ma'am, escrow account bata do. See, escrow account is basically, see, it is a kind of third party account, है where the funds are kept before they are transferred to the ultimate party. ठीक है. So as a security, see जहाँ पे high value assets खरीदे जाते हैं ना, तो वहां पे as a security third party account में funds को, escrow account को as a security रखा जाता है. ठीक है. So that is what is escrow account. ठीक है. Ria, is it clear? So before transferring it to the ultimate party, जिसको भी ट्रांसफर करना है उससे पहले एज अ सिक्योरिटी किसी अकाउंट में रख देते हैं. ठीक है. So now, okay, we'll do one thing. First of all, we'll do the case scenario. So quickly, for all those who have not downloaded these, students, I have already uploaded these case scenarios, MCQs and descriptive questions yesterday itself. So please download them. And for all those who are not able to download these, so I am sharing the screen. So quickly read this case scenario with me. See, Messrs. SG and Associates have been appointed as the statutory auditors of, let me see, what is the name, of Moon Limited for the financial year 2021. It is a company engaged in the manufacture of what? Just a minute. Manufacture of two-wheelers. Just a minute. During the year under audit, Moon Limited has issued share capital at a premium of ₹5 per share. CA Naveen, the engagement partner, asked one of the audit team members to verify justify such issue of shares at premium. Further, C. Naveen also asked the audit team to give special consideration to the classification of reserves as revenue and capital by the company during the year. Okay? In order to obtain audit evidence as to the overall reasonableness of purchase, quantity and price of raw material, the audit team scrutinized the raw material consumed as per the manufacturing account and compared the same with the data of the previous years. The audit team also sent the direct confirmation request letters to trade receivables having significant balances at the year end. Further, the audit team also analyzed the employees' benefit expenses incurred by the client during the year under audit. Okay? So send in your replies with respect to question number 1. The securities premium account can be used by Moon Limited for the various purposes. Now, read the question carefully, except one of the following. Identify the same. Okay? Send in your replies. Okay. So students, I can see that some of you are not, even now you are not able to answer the MCQs correctly. See student, these are very simple questions. ठीक है? और अगर अभी भी नहीं आ रहा ना, we have spent 5 sessions. We have already spent 5 sessions on this chapter and we have discussed everything in detail. If you are not able to answer, this means that you are not reading through the module as I have asked you. You are not highlighting, that means you are not making the summaries, that means. Okay? And for all those who are finding these questions like they are able to answer it, this proves that they have gone through the module. They have actually studied the way I have asked them to do. Okay? So the security premium account can be used by the Moon Limited for various purposes except one. So can it be used in writing of the preliminary expenses? Yes, section 52 says it can be done. Towards issue of unissued shares of the company to the members of the company as fully paid up shares? Yes. For purchase of its own shares? Yes. To be used as working capital? No. Section 52 में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So the answer is what? D. Question number 2. Which of the following is an example of revenue reserve? Securities premium नहीं, ये तो नहीं होता. Capital retention reserve नहीं, ये भी नहीं होता. All of the above, ये भी नहीं है. General reserve, yes. ठीक है? So with respect to first, almost everyone has given the correct answer. That is good. ठीक है? Second का I have received answer from Parth and only Parth. And Rohan. ठीक है? Statement, and as I always say, is read the statements carefully. वहीं पे mark कर लो whether it is correct or not. Confirmations as well as undelivered letters should be given, returned to the auditor and not to the client. ये तो ठीक है. When no reply is received, the auditor should perform alternate procedures regarding the balances. ये भी ठीक है. So the answer is what? C. ठीक है? So Rohan, Sandeep, Parth, they have answered C for question number 3rd, and Pooja, Tanu, Menon, Gehani, Rohan, Sandeep, they have answered for question number 2 correctly. ठीक है? Now with respect to question number 4, in order to obtain audit evidence as to overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and price of raw material, which of the following procedures is the audit team performing? So let us go back to see what is mentioned here. In order to obtain the audit evidence as to overall reasonableness of purchase and quantity, the audit team scrutinized the raw material consumed as per manufacturing account and compared the same with the data of the previous year. ठीक है? So क्या होता है ये? This is what? Consumption analysis. है ना? See, I'm getting wrong answer for fourth question. Why? Please check your answer. Now the fifth one. Which of the following is considered as an employee benefit expense? Consideration paid to employees for their effort, yes. Perquisites and post-employment benefits, yes. Expenditure towards hiring, welfare, training, yes. So the answer is what? D. All of the above. Whoever has answered question number 4 incorrectly, please check your answer. It is A, not B. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Case scenario. Now let us move on to what? Descriptive questions. Students, keep on sending your your queries. Now, write the audit procedures. Question number 1, descriptive questions. Okay? Write the audit procedures for verification of completeness of sale of products and services to be performed by an auditor while conducting the audit of financial statements of an entity. ठीक है? अब see यहाँ पे I don't need your general answers. ठीक है? We have spent, we have discussed each and everything in detail. ठीक है? So please send me the answers which are exactly required out of you. Read the question carefully in order to see what? Completeness. पूरा सेल्स नहीं लिखना है. Sales of product and services. Send in your replies. You may mention the paragraph number. Read the question carefully. Completeness check करना है. With respect to completeness. Sandeep, you are correct. So I'll do one thing. I'll tell you the page number in the new edition, Hana. So it is on page number 9.83. The module for May 2022 examination. On if by chance anyone is referring to the old module, it is on page number 9.72. So what are audit procedures? That cut off whether it appears in the correct accounting period. Sales are not tempered. Recognized revenue should be as per when the risk and reward has been transferred. Credit notes need to be verified. Fictitious sales to be seen. Shipping documents को sales journal से, quantity को GST record से, stock record से compare करना है. ठीक है? Clear? Correct, Harsh. Parth, you are correct. Vinay, you are correct. Riya, check your answer. I told you that I don't want general answers. So Riya, the answers that you are giving is for what? Occurrence. Abhi kya dekhna hai? Completeness. है ना? Cut off procedures. So all that will come. ठीक है? So students don't get confused. So I'll do one thing. I'll mention the page number here. So I'm mentioning the page numbers of what? The new modules. so it is on 9.83. ठीक है, ठीक है. Second question, how will the auditor vouch or verify what? Dividend income, gain on sale of investment. Simple है. That dividend कब होना चाहिए? When the right has been established. And tell me the other points. With respect to dividend income, probable benefits flow to the organization is there, है ना? And the amount of dividend can be measured reliability. Page number 9.85, 9.86, 85 and 86, है ना? Gain on sale of investment, that redemption value minus the carrying value, and the same can be verified from where? From the statement, है ना? In case of any variance, the same can be discussed, right? ठीक है. Now question number 3. The auditor of ABC Limited wants to verify whether the company has a valid legal ownership right over the inventories. ठीक है students, see what problem the student, like what is the problem with these kind of questions is students will write will read inventory and they'll start writing the answers. ठीक है, but please read the question carefully. This question is specifically about what? Valid legal ownership right, है ना? तो rights and obligations of inventory recorded in the balance sheet as on 31st March 2022. What audit procedures this statutory auditor needs to perform. ठीक है, so read the question carefully. General answers नहीं देने हैं. And Ria, how to learn? जब आप एक आध बार इसको read करोगे ना, when you give this modular reading, automatically जब आपने summaries बनाया होगा ना, keyword लिखा होगा, तो you will be able to recall. ठीक है. See, I have always told you that various audit procedures are common, है ना? जो occurrence में भी check करोगे, completeness में भी check करोगे. But if let's say some specific point is required for legal ownership right of inventory, तो वो तो आपको mention करना ही पड़ेगा ना. General points, yes, those can be written depending upon the time available and the marks that has been allotted for a question, है ना? So with respect to inventories, and this is what the legal ownership right. So it is on page number 9.43. ठीक है? Documentation, vendor invoice, receiving report, consigned goods, है ना? Whatever correspondence, collateral agreements, purchase commitments, invoices for evidence of ownership. You can obtain a confirmation with respect to significant items of inventory. ठीक है? If any inventory has been held by third party on behalf of the client, तो वो तो include होगी. But if anybody else's property we are holding, the client is holding, let's say for job work purpose, तो वो include नहीं होगी. Remember? ठीक है? Now let's move on to question number 4. RST Limited is a company engaged in the business of manufacturing toys. CA Sumesh, the statutory auditors of the company, wants to verify power and fuel expenses of the company for the year under audit. Simple. अभी किया है ना ये सब. Power and fuel expenses. Now for all those who were saying, मैम इसमें general points लिख सकते हैं? Yes, 4 marks का आता है, तो you can always write ना. So let me just mention the page number. Page number 9.99, है ना? That obtain a schedule month wise, 12 months का use हुआ है या नहीं? Power consumed, है ना? Multiplied by the rate and check it with the bill, ठीक है? And compare it with the units of finished goods produced, like power consumed per unit of finished goods manufactured. reasonableness test, yes, compare it with the previous year, you can mention all that. Okay. Fifth question. CA Saurabh is the statutory auditor of UVW Limited for the financial year 2021. While verifying the purchases made by UVW Limited, CA Saurabh decided to perform analytical procedures now to obtain audit evidence regarding the overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and price of purchases. What all analysis should CA Saurabh perform? Okay. Send in your replies. Reasonableness of purchase quantity and price. I've received only one answer. I want others also to reply now. Because this question, when I was discussing with you this topic, I mentioned it there itself that I'll be asking this question and ये आपको पता नहीं चलेगा कि इसमें लिखना क्या है. ठीक है? So it is on page number 9.91, है ना? Consumption analysis, stock composition analysis, ratios, and the comparison of the quantitative data. All 4 points will come. Okay? So what is mentioned? That the analytical procedures to obtain audit evidence regarding what? Overall reasonableness of purchase quantity and price of purchases. Consumption analysis, Gehani, you are correct. Harsh, you are also correct. And what? Stock composition analysis, the ratios and the quantitative data comparison. Review of quantitative reconciliation of closing stock, opening purchases and consumption. Refer to page number 9.91. Okay? Done with question number 5. Should we proceed further? Yes, Menon, you are absolutely correct. Students, you will never get a question for which you need to, write a 8 or 9 pages answer. Complete थोड़ी ना आ जाएगा कि share capital को कैसे verify करना है and you have to write. And in case you get, then based on the marks, 4 marks के लिए write the main points, है ना? So otherwise, तो you will be getting the chunks of the various topics, like some parts of the topics that we have discussed, and in case you get a question that isko verify karna hai, so whatever you think are the important points for, let's say 3 or 4 marks, you need to mention that. Sara mat likhna usme, because time is always a constraint with respect to examination. Okay? So now with respect to 6th question, during the financial year 2021, MNO Limited issued sweat equity shares to its employees. Section 54 of the Companies Act 2013 outlines various conditions that need to be complied by the company issuing sweat equity shares. How will the auditor of MNO Limited verify such issue of sweat equity shares? Very simple now. And Ria, tell me whether your query is resolved with respect to that escrow account. So this is what with respect to sweat equity shares. Okay, correct. So, page number 9.11. Hannah, what all conditions that it should be of a class of shares which has already been issued, special resolution, it should specify the number of shares to whom it has been issued, the directors or the officers, Hannah. Then if it is listed on stock exchange, SEBI guidelines, otherwise the prescribed rules, then they shall stand pari passu with what? The equity shareholders. Okay, part 3. You all are correct. Okay, question number 7. Describe the direct confirmation procedures that the auditor follows with respect to verification of borrowings made by the companies. Okay? So see, only the direct confirmation procedures with respect to borrowings have been asked. Okay? You may say that, ma'am, questions, these are simple, but I am telling you what mistake student usually does is what? Borrowings pada and they'll start writing. but this question is specifically about what? The direct confirmation procedure with respect to borrowings. To send in your reply with respect to direct confirmation procedures. Simple hai, there are 3 points, I guess. Hana? That rollout has to make the list and obtain the individual confirmation. Confirmation may you can ask the amount, all information, the interest, the time period, send reminders in case of non replies, and in case of the differences are there, then the same needs to be discussed with the management. Okay, so page number 9.22 and 9.33. Correct. ठीक है. So the way you are writing in summarized way ना, ऐसे आपको like your knowledge should be इतना clear, इतना crisp कि हाँ ये वाला point है तो इसके साथ all these are the 5 points. ठीक है. कैसे language कौन सा use करना है उसके लिए I'm again and again telling you that please read the module. Question number 8. ठीक है. What are the required disclosures? Now this is a question with respect to what? Disclosures for cash and cash equivalents to be made by the companies as per Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act 2013. Simple है. अब इसमें अपनी तरफ से थोड़ी ना लिख सकते हो. Whatever has been asked, like cash and cash equivalents, balances with banks, checks, draft, cash in hand, others, earmarked balances, balance held as margin monies, है ना? Then repatriation restrictions, that is restrictions on conversion of your foreign currency into local currency, bank deposits, the term deposits that has been done. ठीक है, is it clear? So this is on page number 9.40 and 41. Is it clear? See, Harsh, with respect to that confirmation procedure, na, ab wahan pe don't explain positive and negative confirmations in detail. Hana, because that question number 7 is basically about what? Your direct confirmation procedures with respect to borrowings. Hana, to borrowings, in a line or two you can always explain, and as I always tell you, depending upon the time and the marks that have been allotted. Nahi to 3 points ke aayenge ki confirmation lena with respect to all the aspects. Hana, kaun se you will mention that. Send reminders in case of no replies. Differences hai to reconcile karo. ठीक है, is the 8th question clear? While verifying the valuation of inventory of raw material and consumables, what all auditors should consider? This question also many at times students don't know as to what to write in these. Send in your replies with respect to question number 9. So valuation of inventory and particularly of what? Raw material and the consumables. ठीक है? So on page number 9.44, that is what all elements of cost has been included. Standard cost hai kya? What is the basis? With differences hai to analyze that. Purchase invoices se cost dekh lo and consider follow for what? Damaged and obsolete. That is net realistic value, realistic net realizable value. This should be mentioned. So don't please write general answers. I'm repeating again and again. अगर आप disclosure में general answers क्या लिखोगे ना, थोड़ा तो पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा. सेम वे रॉ मटेरियल का पूछा हुआ है ना, तो कुछ तो लिखोगे सेम. सूर्या, आई डिडंट गेट योर रिप्लाई. आप क्या लिख रहे हो प्लीज? अच्छा, यू हैव आंसर्ड फॉर 10th क्वेश्चन. ठीक है. ठीक है. Now the 10th question, which is the last question before the session. We will take a break of 10 minutes at 7:30, and then sir will be addressing you. So in the break, please send in your queries, whatever are there. Pooja, I have noted your query. Rest of the students part, I think you have earlier mentioned a query. So please send your queries again. While verifying PPE of the client entity, the auditor also needs to consider whether PPE has been valued appropriately and as per the generally accepted accounting principles and policies. Explain. है ना. तो इसमें क्या पूछा हुआ है? पीपीई का वैल्यूएशन पार्ट. सो पेज नंबर 9.50 वैल्यूएशन ही लिखोगे ना उसमें फिर कि डेप्रिसिएशन हैज बीन प्रॉपर्ली चार्ज और नॉट, एसएलएम है या डिमिनिशिंग है या यूनिट्स ऑफ प्रोडक्ट है, बेस्ड अपॉन द pattern in which the future economic benefits from the asset will flow, and impairment किया है या नहीं as per AS 28. ठीक है. So with this I'll take a break of 10 minutes here. After the break sir will be addressing you and then we'll be discussing the rest of the questions. ठीक है. And if the time permits I'll definitely revise the topics that you have asked me. ठीक है. So take a quick 10 minutes break. So students, I hope you all are back after the break, right? And as before the break, I have told you that sir will be addressing you, CA Rajesh Sachdeva sir. So sir, over to you now.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, good evening to all students and hope you are doing well. In last 2 lectures, students, I just guided you. I just advised you on how to prepare for examination, how to prepare in theory subjects basically. And in that sequence, the very first step I told you, the very first step I suggested you was that you should make an understanding. सबसे पहले की बात क्या है कि आप understanding बनाएं सब्जेक्ट की। और जैसे कि आप all of you are attending lectures, so this is a process of creating an understanding. Now, in this sequence of thoughts, I will tell you how to now. कहना तो आसान था कि मैंने भी कह दिया कि पहले सब्जेक्ट को अंडरस्टैंड करो। अंडरस्टैंड भी कैसे करें, क्या चेन ऑफ थॉट्स हम डेवलप करें, ये भी एक पॉइंट है। लर्निंग की जैसे मैंने आपको स्ट्रेटजीज बताई थी लास्ट ओवर इन 2 लेक्चर्स। लर्निंग स्ट्रेटजीज वर डिस्कस्ड लाइक कि आप फर्स्ट डे लर्न करिए, फिर सेकंड डे लर्न करिए, फिर थर्ड डे भी लर्न करिए, और फिर अगर आपको जरूरत पड़े, अगर तभी भी नहीं तो 5 डेज तक आप एक्सटेंड कर सकते हैं। दिस इज व्हाट आई सजेस्टेड। तो होप यू हैव इम्प्लीमेंटेड। द बिगर थिंग आई ऑलवेज एम्फेसाइज इज इम्प्लीमेंटेशन। खाली हम कानों से सुने ना, हम उसको इम्प्लीमेंट भी करें। दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग। दैट इज गोइंग टू बी ए श्योर शॉट thing for success is implementation. कि खाली सुनने से कुछ नहीं होगा, खाली और हम we just keep on pretending कि हम कल शुरू करेंगे, परसों शुरू करेंगे, नहीं। आप शुरू जब आप उसका मुहूर्त ना निकालो, जस्ट स्टार्ट योर स्टडीज। और ये नहीं कि मैं कल से शुरू करूंगा, ये परसों से, नो, जस्ट स्टार्ट योर स्टडीज। क्योंकि स्टार्ट करना बहुत जरूरी। लेट अस स्टार्ट। तो मैं आपको ये अभी कहने वाला हूँ, समझाने वाला हूँ आज के लेक्चर के अंदर कि चीजों को अंडरस्टैंड कैसे करना है। कि हम इसमें कुछ जनरल बातें करेंगे आज, सम जनरल सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग्स हम डिस्कशन करेंगे ऑन दिस चैप्टर ओनली। इस चैप्टर को कहते हैं समझना है आपको, जैसे कि अभी नैन्सी मैडम ने आपको डिटेल में समझाई है, सारे ऑडिट प्रोसीजर समझाए हैं। तो मैं इसमें AS10 का विद एग्जांपल आपको बताऊंगा कि कैसे अंडरस्टैंड करना है। PPE के एग्जांपल से ली। दिस इज ओनली एन एग्जांपल आई एम टेकिंग स्टूडेंट्स। तो हम कुछ जनरल बातें करेंगे कि हम कैसे समझना है चीजों को, ये मैं आपको डिलीवर करने जा रहा हूं। लेट अस से दैट 500 कार्स। आप थोड़ा बहुत, मैं आपको हमेशा एडवाइज करता हूं कि कीप योर नोटबुक एंड पेन रेडी। और आप हमेशा थोड़ा बहुत जो मैं बोलता हूं, एडवाइज करता हूं, उसको लिख लिया करें। दिस इज माय सजेशन टू ऑल ऑफ यू। बिकॉज क्या होता है स्टूडेंट्स कि लिखने से और उसको फिर दोबारा रिवाइज करने से वो चीजें पक्की होती हैं और ज्यादा आपके माइंड में स्टैब्लिश होती हैं और आपकी प्रिपरेशन एक नए स्केल पर पहुंच जाती है। दिस इज माय एडवाइस टू ऑल ऑफ यू। जो मैं आपको बताऊंगा वो आप जरूर लेना थोड़ा बहुत, सो दैट यू मे रिवाइज दोज पॉइंट्स एटलीस्ट। अब अंडरस्टैंडिंग कैसे बनानी है, मैं आपको AS10 के एग्जांपल से इसे क्लैरिफाई करूंगा। और ऑडिटिंग इन पर्टिकुलर दिस चैप्टर, वैसे तो जो मैं बात कहने वाला हूं आपको वो पूरी ऑडिटिंग के लिए रेलेवेंट है कि ऑडिटिंग अकाउंट से बहुत ड्रॉ करती है। ऑडिटिंग अकाउंट से बहुत ड्रॉ करती है। फर्स्ट यू हैव टू बी एन अकाउंटेंट फर्स्ट। आपको पहले अकाउंटेंट अच्छा बनना है, मींस अकाउंट्स पहले आपकी ग्रिप पूरी होनी चाहिए। ऑडिटिंग तो अकाउंट्स के बाद, बिकॉज वी हैव टू वेरीफाई द थिंग्स। नाउ थिंग्स हैव ऑलरेडी हैपेंड, अकाउंटिंग में थिंग्स ऑलरेडी हो चुकी हैं। और ऑडिटिंग अकाउंट से फिर ऑडिटिंग इनकम टैक्स से बहुत ड्रॉ करती है। इनकम टैक्स से जो ड्रॉ करती है वो ऑफकोर्स आप सीए के फाइनल लेवल में पढ़ेंगे, टैक्स ऑडिट वगैरह जो एडवांस टॉपिक्स हैं वो इंटरमीडिएट लेवल पे नहीं सिखाए जाते आपको। लेकिन इंटरमीडिएट लेवल पे अकाउंट्स जो खासकर ऑडिट ऑफ आइटम्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, दो सब्जेक्ट्स में आपको कहूंगा जो आपको अच्छे से आने, दैट इज वन इज कंपनी लॉ, सेकंड इज अकाउंटेंसी। इसकी भी ग्रिप साइमल्टेनियसली आपको करनी है ऑडिटिंग पढ़ते हो। तो नाउ आई विल स्टार्ट हाउ टू डेवलप एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग, वो मैं आपको एग्जांपल दूंगा विद द हेल्प ऑफ AS10। ऑडिट प्रोसीजर, अब क्या होता है कि ऑडिट प्रोसीजर तो हमने पढ़ लिया, ऑडिट प्रोसीजर हमने सारा लर्न भी कर लिया, सारा कुछ कर लिया, लेकिन उसके रूट में जरूर जाना चाहिए। रूट्स कहां पर है इसके? अकाउंटिंग के अंदर रूट्स हैं। तो लेट अस से 500 कार्स आर लाइंग विद मी एंड आई एम Hyundai, ए कार मैन्युफैक्चरर। मैं Hyundai हूं या मैं टोयोटा हूं या मैं मारुति सुजुकी हूं, कुछ भी आप एग्जांपल ले सकते हैं। आई एम मारुति सुजुकी, राइट, एंड 500 कार्स आर लाइंग विद। ये स्टूडेंट्स थोड़ा सा नोट जरूर करना सो दैट ये एक इंटरैक्टिव डिस्कशन हो जाएगी। नैन्सी आप भी इसमें स्टूडेंट्स के साथ आप इंटरैक्ट भी कर सकते हो साइमल्टेनियसली। नाउ इज दिस फिक्स्ड असेट फॉर Hyundai, Maruti Suzuki और टोयोटा? क्या पहली तो हम थोड़ा, अगर हम इसको एनालाइज करें तो दैट इज इनकरेक्ट। इट शुड बी हेल्ड। सेकंड इसमें बात, फर्स्ट इज टेंजिबल तो होना ही चाहिए। अगर मैं पीपी की बात करूंगा, इट शुड बी हेल्ड इन द बिजनेस with the intention to use, intention to use in the ordinary course of business, that is the most important thing. It should be held in the second important thing is, if on the basis of 12 months life is greater than 12 months and the thing is tangible, asset is tangible, and I said yes, it is a fixed asset, it is a PPE, but on the other end I have to see that it should be held in the business with the intention to use in the ordinary course of business. Inventory is held for sale in the ordinary course of. Now if I define inventory, inventory is held for sale in the ordinary course of business. ये स्टूडेंट्स इसको आपको इस बात को, इस लाइन को, इन्वेंट्री इज हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस, इसको आपने माइंड में स्टैब्लिश ही कर लेना है बिल्कुल अच्छे तरीके से। इन्वेंट्री, मैं बार बार बोल रहा हूं, ये तो ऐसे हमने अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्रिएट करनी है। लर्निंग भी हो जाएगी लेकिन लर्निंग हम बाद में करते हैं, पहले अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्रिएट करते हैं। तो इन्वेंट्री इज हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस। सो व्हेन वी लुक एट कार्स इन मारुति सुजुकी's balance sheet, cars will be shown as inventory in the balance sheet of Maruti Suzuki or Hyundai or whatever the car manufacturer is, whosoever. Because Maruti Suzuki doesn't intend to use these cars in the ordinary course of business. It doesn't intend to use 500 cars in the ordinary course of business. It is held for sale in the ordinary course of business. It is not intended to use these cars in the ordinary course of business. So use in the ordinary course of business is must before I come to the conclusion yes that it is PP. Instead, Toyota or Maruti Suzuki intend to sell these cars in the ordinary course of business, and hence it is inventory in the balance sheet of Toyota. I hope this concept is, I hope all of you are very clear on this, what I am telling you. There are, if I am talking of PPE as per AS10, now everybody will be thinking कि इसका auditing से क्या? ऑडिटिंग, अगर मेरे को पीपी नहीं पता होगा स्टूडेंट्स क्या होती है, तो मैं ऑडिटिंग कभी समझ ही नहीं पाऊंगा। ये चैप्टर में आप कभी भी, अगर आप पीपी ही नहीं समझते और आप ये चैप्टर शुरू कर देते हैं, टेंजिबल मीन्स हैविंग फिजिकल सब्सटेंस। इफ आई, हम कह तो देते हैं दिस इज टेंजिबल, बट टेंजिबल इज हैविंग फिजिकल सब्सटेंस। एंड सेकंड इज, फर्स्ट पीपी का पहला फीचर क्या है, डेफिनेशन ऑफ पीपीई अगर मैं AS 10 में देखूंगा तो उसमें सबसे पहली बात है इट शुड बी टेंजिबल। सेकंड इज हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस। अब यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट्स आप इनकम टैक्स भी साइमल्टेनियसली, अगर आपने उसको ग्रुप 1 के अंदर पढ़ा है, स्टडी किया इनकम टैक्स को, तो वहां पे प्लीज यहाँ पे डिस्टिंग्विश जरूर करिएगा। ये अकाउंटिंग का कंसेप्ट है, हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी। इनकम टैक्स में हम पुट टू यूज देखते हैं। इनकम टैक्स में जब हम डेप्रिसिएशन, वहां पे ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट का, यहाँ पे ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट का कंसेप्ट नहीं होता है अकाउंटिंग का, वहां पे ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट और फिर वहां पे पुट टू यूज देखा जाता है, राइट। यहाँ पे हम हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस, हेल्ड फॉर यूज, तो साथ साथ आप डिस्टिंग्विश भी करो कि हेल्ड फॉर यूज अकाउंटिंग कंसेप्ट इज हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस। एंड थर्ड फीचर इज लाइफ ग्रेटर देन 12 मंथ्स। अगर मेरी 3 कंडीशंस स्टूडेंट से सेटिस्फाई हो जाएंगी तो मैं कह सकता हूं कि वो पीपी है। अब यूज पहले, अब जो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट जो मैंने बताया था आपको पॉइंट, फिजिकल सब्सटेंस तो है ही है, इन्वेंट्री का भी है, राइट, और लाइफ भी ग्रेटर देन 12 मंथ्स, कार्स की भी मैंने आपको बताया लाइफ ग्रेटर देन, दो कंडीशन तो वहां पर भी पूरी हो रही थी। लेकिन फिर भी हमने ये नहीं कहा कि वो टीपी है। हमने क्या कंक्लूजन निकाला था कार्स का, हमने बोला था कि वो क्या है, वो इन्वेंट्री है, बिकॉज इट इज हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस। तो यूज कैन बी any kind of use. If I am talking of held for use in the ordinary course of business, use किसके लिए? Use can be for any, it can be any kind of use. It can be in the course of production. For example, if you have a factory, and using that factory for production, that is PPE. तो factory भी PPE है. That is manufacturing use. That is considered as PPE. Delivery van. If I have got delivery van for distribution of goods, I have got delivery van for distribution of goods. तो क्या वो PPE है? Answer is yes. It is also PPE. Use is something. आप ये लाइन एक बार जरूर इसको नोट डाउन करिएगा. Use is something that is not necessarily generating revenue only. Use is something, if I am talking of held up for use, use is something that is not necessarily generating revenue only. ऐसा नहीं हम देखना कभी भी कि यूज मैं अगर कर रहा हूं तो उससे रेवेन्यू भी जनरेट हो रहा हो, ऐसा नहीं देखना कभी ना, ऐसा कभी थॉट प्रोसेस हमने डेवलप करना। तो इट कैन बी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव यूज एज वेल, इट कैन बी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव यूज एज वेल, it can be other than administrative use as well. तो कोई भी हो सकता है, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव भी हो सकता है, नॉन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव। अब मैं कहता हूं, आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछता हूं सबसे कि पेंटिंग लगी हुई है रिसेप्शन एरिया में, रिसेप्शन एरिया में आपकी फैक्ट्री का रिसेप्शन एरिया, ऑफिस का रिसेप्शन एरिया है, वहां पे एक पेंटिंग लगी, पेंटिंग इज देयर इन रिसेप्शन, तो क्या वो पीपी होगी? माय क्वेश्चन टू यू स्टूडेंट्स इज, क्या वो पीपीई होगी? सो यू पुट अ बिग पेंटिंग देयर, राइट? सो इससे फैक्ट्री की क्या बढ़ रही है या ऑफिस का क्या एम्बियंस बढ़ रहा है उसमें? तो आर यू, माय क्वेश्चन टू यू, आर यू गोइंग टू सेल दैट पेंटिंग, सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस? आंसर इज नो। तो पेंटिंग अगर मैं पहली कंडीशन देखूंगा, क्या वो टेंजिबल है? आंसर इज यस। क्या लाइफ ग्रेटर देन 12 मंथ? आंसर इज यस। Held for use in the, it is not held for sale in the ordinary course of business. तो आंसर अपने आप आएगा, क्या आएगा आपका? Yes, it is PP. That is also use. पेंटिंग की अगर मैं बात करूं तो पेंटिंग एम्बियंस बढ़ा रही है, एम्बियंस आपका। तो दिस इज हाउ आई एम डेवलपिंग द अंडरस्टैंडिंग। और साथ साथ अगर थोड़ा बहुत लर्न भी करोगे तो वो भी चलेगा। अगर आप यहाँ पे, जैसे मैंने बोला, इन्वेंट्री को माइंड में हमेशा के लिए सेटल करो, क्योंकि ये जो बेसिक अगर बातें आपके दिमाग में सेटल हो जाएंगी, ऑडिटिंग, बिलीव मी, ये जो चैप्टर ऑडिट ऑफ आइटम्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, ये अपने आप ही चलेगा। क्योंकि बिकॉज ऑडिटर को वेरीफाई करना है। एज ऑडिटर का एंगल क्या आएगा, बीच में वेरिफिकेशन एंगल आएगा। अकाउंटिंग में चीजें हैपन हो चुकी हैं। अब ऑडिटर क्या चेक, अगर मैंने मान लिया जाए, से आई हैव परचेज्ड वन मशीनरी, और परचेज में आप जीएसटी भी पढ़ते हो, परचेज में बिगेस्ट डॉक्यूमेंट क्या आएगा? अगर मैंने मशीनरी बहुत बड़ी खरीदी है, ऐसे 5 करोड़ की मशीनरी खरीदी ना, मशीनरी के तो जीएसटी इनवॉइस जो होती है, इनवॉइस इज द बिगेस्ट, टैक्स इनवॉइस इज द बिगेस्ट डॉक्यूमेंट, तो एक एविडेंस है। तो इमीडिएटली आपके दिमाग में आएगा। अब मशीनरी, क्या मशीनरी पीपीई है? मशीनरी क्या पीपीई है ना? अब मैं उसको फिर 3 क्राइटेरिया उस टेस्ट लगाऊंगा उसके ऊपर। एज ऑडिटर भी मुझे ये चीजें जरूरी आनी चाहिए, बिकॉज अगर ये चीजें आती होंगी तो मैं ऑडिट बेटर कर पाऊंगा। सो मैं उसी, अभी लिंक ब्रेक नहीं करूंगा, मैं उसमें अभी और आपको समझाऊंगा। लेट अस से यू हैव पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल डिवाइस। अभी मैं आपको ये समझा रहा था कि उसका, इट इज नॉट नेसेसरली जनरेटिंग रेवेन्यू ओनली। प्लीज, कुछ स्टूडेंट्स ये समझते हैं, ऐसे समझते हैं कि जो हेल्ड फॉर यूज है तो मस्ट है कि रेवेन्यू जनरेट होना जरूरी है। दैट इज नॉट नेसेसरी। यूज इज समथिंग दैट इज नॉट नेसेसरली लिंक्ड टू जनरेशन ऑफ रेवेन्यू। दिस हैज टू बी एस्टेब्लिश्ड इन योर माइंड। आपको अच्छे से समझना। जैसे मैंने आपको पेंटिंग का एग्जांपल दिया इन योर रिसेप्शन एरिया। लेट अस से you have pollution control device. Your factory is emitting lot of poisonous gases, and you have put an emission control device in your distinct factory. So is that going to generate more revenue? Answer is no. It will not generate revenue for you. But it may be a norm which is fixed by the government कि आप इसको establish करिए अपनी फैक्ट्री के अंदर। गवर्नमेंट भी आपको एडवाइस करेगी। और फिर आजकल CSR रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज आ रही है मेरी अपनी खुद की। इवन इफ गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट आस्किंग मी टू इंस्टॉल ए पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल डिवाइस, तो आई बीइंग ए सिंसियर से माय रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टुवर्ड्स सोसाइटी इज आल्सो देयर, CSR रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। तो मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं तो लगाऊंगा ना उस पे पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल इक्विपमेंट। तो दैट इज नॉट गोइंग टू जनरेट रेवेन्यू। से मेरा 10 लाख का एक्सपेंस है या मेरा 20 लाख का भी एक्सपेंस है, तो मैं कर रहा हूँ, हाँ कर रहा हूँ। अब क्या वो टेंजिबल है? आंसर इज यस। हेल्ड फॉर यूज है, यूज तो है ही उसका, बिकॉज पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल करेगा। थर्ड इज, इट इज नॉट हेल्ड फॉर सेल। आपने इसको उल्टा समझना है कि मैंने सेल के लिए नहीं रखा हुआ है, इसका मतलब हेल्ड फॉर यूज है। इफ इट इज नॉट हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस, इट इज हेल्ड फॉर। इस तरह से आपने थॉट प्रोसेस, चेन ऑफ थॉट क्या होगी कि हेल्ड फॉर यूज को आप कैसे स्टेब्लिश करोगे? इट इज नॉट हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस। अगर ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस में तो इन्वेंट्री हो जाएगी फिर। दिस इज द आइडिया बिहाइंड। एंड थर्ड इज लाइफ ग्रेटर देन 12 मंथ। तो ये भी मेरा पीपीई का टेस्ट पूरा कर रहा है। I hope students are understanding. Nancy, what is the response of students? Can you take that response and tell me whether they are
Yes, sir. Like Pooja has said that in your example of painting, so she has given the reply that painting is PPE. Then with respect to cars with Toyota, so Harsh has answered that that is inventory.
Very good, very good.
And Surbhi has also answered that these are inventory for Maruti Suzuki.
Very good.
Mohan, Sandeep, they have also answered correctly that.
So are they understanding what I am?
Yes.
What I am trying to tell them? I am just trying to give an example, just an example, जिससे आपका थॉट प्रोसेस वाइडन हो। मैं किसी भी आप टॉपिक को जब स्टडी करेंगे स्टूडेंट्स, तो दिस इज द मेथोडोलॉजी, दिस इज द वे, कह सकते हो मेथोडोलॉजिकल वे which you should adopt while understanding the thing. आप एक और मेरा एक इसको भी लिख लेना अच्छी तरह से, नेवर बी इन हरी टू स्टडी, ऑलवेज बी ए, आपको लर्निंग भी करनी है तो बहुत स्लो लर्निंग होती है, जो आपके स्लो लर्निंग इज ऑलवेज द बेस्ट लर्निंग, दिस इज व्हाट आई ऑलवेज से। अगर अभी मैंने लास्ट लेक्चर में नहीं बोला था तो अभी मैं इस बात को आप लिख लो और अच्छी तरह रोज रिवाइज करो कि स्लोली लर्निंग जो होगी वो ज्यादा देर तक टिकने वाली है, और जितना आप स्लोली चीजों को अंडरस्टैंड करोगे उतना लंबे टाइम तक आपके दिमाग में स्टेब्लिश्ड रहेंगी। तो स्टूडेंट्स आप चीजों को स्लोली लर्न समझो, स्लोली उनको, ऑफ कोर्स एग्जामिनेशन इज ड्राइंग नियर, ये सब बातें तो है ही हैं, आप उसके लिए जो टेक्निक आप ज्यादा टाइम डिवोट कर सकते हो, 2 घंटा फालतू डिवोट कर दो तो कुछ नहीं जाएगा। अगर एग्जाम डेज में हम ज्यादा भी जाग लेंगे तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, पोटेंशियल काफी होता है हम लोगों। सो लॉट ऑफ कंपनी से गूगल, I am just continuing that discussion. Lot of companies say Google or Microsoft and these big companies they are big employers. So what they are doing, Infosys in India, Infosys are big sort of complex, and they have installed gym for their employees, TT club है, badminton club है. So is that going to help in generating revenue? अब टीटी क्लब मैंने बना दिया, मैंने क्या किया, बैडमिंटन का पूरा कोर्ट ही बना दिया, 4 कोर्ट बना दिए, मैंने कहा अपना आराम से एम्प्लॉय मेरे जितना खेलेंगे उनका दिमाग फ्रेश होएगा, 2 घंटा खेलेंगे या मॉर्निंग में आके प्ले करते। दिस इज द थॉट प्रोसेस द कंपनीज आर हैविंग। तो स्टूडेंट्स अब मैं वही टेस्ट लगाऊंगा, ठीक है। सो मुझे उसे रेवेन्यू से वो कोरिलेट करना ही नहीं है, तो इट शुड बी हेल्ड फॉर यूज, इट इज नॉट फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी। मैं कोई बैडमिंटन का कोर्ट लगाकर उसको सेल नहीं कर रहा हूं उस कॉम्प्लेक्स को, तो इट इज नॉट हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी, इट इज टेंजिबल सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग एंड लाइफ इज ग्रेटर देन 12 months, तो इट इज ए पीपीई। सो यूज अगर मैं बात करूंगा तो इट कैन बी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव यूज, इट कैन बी यूज्ड, देयर कैन बी यूज फॉर पर्सनल पर्पस, पॉल्यूशन कंट्रोल मैंने बताया, प्रोडक्शन के लिए यूज बताया, सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बताया, ये सब विद एग्जांपल दिए मैंने आपको। तो हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस, ये नहीं कि मैंने हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस करा उसको फिर बंद कर दिया, तो आपके दिमाग में कंसेप्ट एस्टेब्लिश नहीं होने वाला। जब तक आप जो मैंने अभी डिस्कशन करी है हेल्ड फॉर यूज, इसको आप ऐसे डिस्कस नहीं करें, किसी भी चीज की गहराई में जाके उसको समझो, अंडरस्टैंड करो, बिकॉज सीए कोर्स में तो ये बहुत जरूरी है। अदरवाइज आप एग्जाम में क्या लिख, ऑडिटिंग जैसे सब्जेक्ट में क्यों ज्यादा जरूरी होता है, बिकॉज अगर आपके कहीं भी आप लैक कर गए ना अंडरस्टैंडिंग, तो वो एग्जाम में आपको तकलीफ देगी, वो चीज फिर लिखा ही नहीं जाएगा आपसे, आप वहां पे कोशिश करते जाना, वर्ड ही नहीं आपको ध्यान में। तो ये प्रॉब्लम तो सीए में तो खासकर बहुत ज्यादा है कि अगर आप अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप नहीं करोगे तो आप उसको लर्न नहीं कर पाएंगे। और अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप करने का तरीका यही है, बट नाउ इन सर्टेन केसेस इवन इफ यू आर रेंटिंग इट आउट, अब मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मैं रेंट कर रहा हूँ, मेरे पास कैब है, 25 गाड़ी है, मैं कहता हूँ ठीक है इनको रेंट पे दे दो। तो इवन इफ आई एम रेंटिंग इट आउट, ठीक है, मैं से केरला में और मैं ट्रिप उनके जो टूरिस्ट वहां आते हैं मैं उनके ट्रिप्स बनाता हूँ, और मेरे पास 25 गाड़ी है, मेरे पास 50 गाड़ी है। अब क्या वो पीपीआई होगी? नैन्सी स्टूडेंट्स क्या कहते हैं कि पीपी होगी? अगर मैं रेंट कर रहा हूँ कैब्स को, आजकल तो कई सारे सिस्टम चले हुए हैं ना कि वो कहते हैं कि आप गाड़ी की चाबी ले जाओ, आप खुद ही चलाओ, रेंट क्या बोलते हैं इसका पर्टिकुलर एक नेम है, आई जस्ट फॉरगॉट दैट नेम। आजकल तो ऐसा भी चला है, रेंट ए कैब तो है ही है। तो क्या वो पीपी है? 10 मेरे पास से 50 गाड़ी है, तो क्या वो पीपी में आएंगी? अब क्वेश्चन सबसे बड़ा वही है, टेंजिबल तो है ही है, टेंजिबल फिजिकल सब्सटेंस तो है ही है, और लाइफ भी ग्रेटर देन 12 months है, तो क्या हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस है? मेरा टेस्ट यहीं पे, मेरे को ये सबसे पहले ही टेस्ट ही हेल्ड फॉर सेल इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स, आंसर यहाँ पे नो है, सेल पे तो मैंने रखा नहीं हुआ, तो हेल्ड फॉर यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस हो गया। तो ये भी यूज इन द कोर्स ऑफ ऑर्डिनरी, अगर मैं उसको रेंट आउट कर देता हूं तो ये भी यूज इन द ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस। तो दिस इज हाउ यू शुड डेवलप द कंसेप्ट। तो ये मैंने आपको हेल्ड फॉर यूज डिटेल में बताया स्टूडेंट्स। इसी तरह इसमें एक और डिस्कशन जहां पे स्टूडेंट्स को बड़ा कंफ्यूजन होता है, ऑर्डिनरी मैंने देखा है, और ये एग्जाम में भी, अकाउंटिंग के एग्जाम में तो इन पर्टिकुलर आता है, ऑडिटिंग में भी आ जाएगा, तो आई विल नॉट बी सरप्राइज। ठीक है, आप ये मत सोचना कि बुक में जो क्वेश्चन पढ़ोगे लिखे हैं वही आएंगे। ये चैप्टर ऐसा है जिसमें कहीं से भी क्वेश्चन आता है और आ भी सकता है हमेशा। अब इफ आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ स्पेयर पार्ट्स, तो स्पेयर पार्ट्स पे एएस और इंडियस इनफैक्ट दोनों ने क्लैरिफाई किया हुआ है, लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स को हमेशा डाउट रहता ही रहता है हमेशा। तो आप इन डाउट्स को, जो जहां पे पर्टिकुलर स्टिकी पॉइंट है, जैसे मैं स्पेयर पार्ट्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो उसको छोड़ो मत कि ये तो छोड़ दो, चलो कोई बात नहीं, मुश्किल लग रहा है। नहीं नहीं, ऐसा ना करो। आपको रादर जो डाउटफुल पॉइंट्स हैं उनको क्लैरिफाई करना चाहिए, उसमें आपको रादर एक ओपिनियन बनाना चाहिए, एक इन पर्टिकुलर आपको ये तैयार रहना चाहिए कि अगर इस पे क्वेश्चन आएगा तो मैं वहां पे क्या आंसर, हम क्या लिखेंगे, ये इवन यहां तक आपको तैयारी करनी चाहिए। स्पेयर पार्ट्स पे स्टूडेंट्स मैं 2 मिनट और स्पेयर पार्ट्स पे लूंगा कि हमारा कोई सेपरेट एएस स्पेयर पार्ट्स पे नहीं बना हुआ है। इफ आई हैव स्पेयर पार्ट्स ऑफ एन एसेट, हाउ विल आई ट्रीट स्पेयर पार्ट्स? शुड आई कैपिटलाइज द स्पेयर पार्ट्स into the cost of the set? So I am not even trying to use it. It is a spare part. अब मैं इसे यूज भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ because it is a spare part. इसका नाम ही क्लियर है, जिससे नाम से क्लियर है, it is a spare part, right? It is not improving my efficiency. Life भी asset की नहीं बढ़ा रहा, कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. Should I expense it off to P&L account? तो स्टैंडर्ड क्या कहते हैं यहाँ पे? स्टैंडर्ड एक बिगर क्राइटेरिया आपको बताते हैं। इफ स्पेयर पार्ट मीट द डेफिनेशन ऑफ पीपीई, अगर वो पीपीई की डेफिनेशन मीट आउट कर लेता है तो तब आप उसे कैपिटलाइज कर दो अलोंग विद द एसेट। अगर वो पीपीई की डेफिनेशन मीट आउट कर, तो ये आप अच्छी तरह से आपको क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए इस चीज की। अगर पहली बात मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, अगर स्पेयर पार्ट पीपीई की डेफिनेशन को मीट आउट कर लेता है तो स्पेयर पार्ट को हम कैपिटलाइज कर देंगे इनटू द कॉस्ट ऑफ द एसेट। और अगर वो स्पेयर पार्ट पीपीई की डेफिनेशन को मीट आउट नहीं करता है, देन इट विल बी एक्सपेंस टू P&L अकाउंट। और आप शेड्यूल 3 का क्लासिफिकेशन देख लीजिए। अब ये ऑडिटिंग में भी आएगा, ऑडिटर को भी ये चेक करना होता है क्लासिफिकेशन। इन्वेंट्री में रॉ मटेरियल होता है, फिर वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस होता है, फिनिश्ड गुड्स, स्टॉक इन ट्रेड, और फिर स्पेयर पार्ट्स, स्टोर्स एंड स्पेयर्स और लूज टूल्स, इस नाम से आता है। तो शेड्यूल 3 में भी आपका स्प्लिट दिया हुआ है वहां पे, जहां पे क्लियरली मेंशन्ड है स्टोर्स एंड स्पेयर्स और लूज टूल्स, वहां पे भी क्लियरली मेंशन्ड। और पैरा 8 अगर आप AS10 का देखेंगे, पैरा 8, हालांकि आपको स्टूडेंट इस लेवल पे पैरा में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, फिर भी मैं आपको रेफरेंस पॉइंट बता रहा हूं उसका। पैरा 8 अगर आप देखेंगे AS10 का, तो उसमें लिखा हुआ है आइटम सच एज स्पेयर पार्ट्स। AS10 आइटम सच एज स्पेयर पार्ट्स क्या लिखा है? स्टैंड बाय इक्विपमेंट एंड सर्विस इक्विपमेंट आर रिकॉग्नाइज्ड इन अकॉर्डेंस विद AS10 when they meet the definition of PP। आप AS, ये आपका AS बोल रहा है when they meet the definition, तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है। when they meet the definition of the PP, तो आप उसे कैपिटलाइज कर दोगे। अदरवाइज सच आइटम्स आर क्लासिफाइड एज, अदरवाइज मैं उसे फिर इन्वेंट्री क्लासिफाई करूंगा। अगर वो PP की मतलब हेल्ड फॉर यूज हो और लाइफ ग्रेटर देन 12 में और टेंजिबल हो, अगर पीपीई की डेफिनेशन मीट आउट कर देता है तो फिर मैं उसे क्या करूंगा? कैपिटलाइज करूंगा। अदरवाइज आई विल रिफ्लेक्ट इट इन इन्वेंट्री। और शेड्यूल 3 में भी जैसा मैंने आपको बताया, इसमें एक इंपॉर्टेंट बात बता देता हूं। स्पेयर पार्ट्स में स्पेयर पार्ट्स स्टैंड बाय इक्विपमेंट आर टेस्टेड फॉर बीइंग पीपीई बेस्ड ऑन अबव डेफिनेशन, एंड इफ दीज डू नॉट मीट दिस डेफिनेशन, ये बॉटम लाइन है, देन दे आर कंसिडर्ड एज, फिर मैं इसे इंड AS2 में इन्वेंट्री में ले जाऊंगा। सो दिस इज हाउ, मैं आपको सिर्फ एग्जांपल दे रहा था स्टूडेंट्स, मैंने थोड़ा सा ज्यादा लंबा तो कर दिया और नैन्सी मैडम का टाइम भी थोड़ा, टाइम इज आल्सो रनिंग शॉर्ट, मैंने थोड़ा लंबी बात कर दी, लेकिन ये एग्जांपल है स्टूडेंट्स, मैं थोड़ा सा लंबा एग्जांपल तो दे गया आपको, लेकिन आई एम श्योर कि अगर आप मेरा एग्जांपल अच्छी तरह से ध्यान में रखेंगे, हालांकि आपने अकाउंट्स के टीचर से अच्छी तरह समझा होगा, लेकिन मैंने इसे सिलेक्ट किया एज एग्जांपल, और ऑडिटिंग में ऑडिटर को हमेशा स्टार्ट ही वो यहाँ से, अगर उसे पीपी नहीं पता क्या होता है तो कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर में डालना है या रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर, आप यहीं पे फेल हो जाओगे सबसे पहला। और बिलीव मी, आप जब ऑडिट पे प्रैक्टिकल बातें अगर मैं आपको बताऊं तो दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिंसिपल, कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर और रेवेन्यू, और सारा जो मैंने आपको अभी समझाया है यहीं से जनरेट होना है। सो आपको वेरीफाई करना पड़ता है कि कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर है, तो इवन यहां तक मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, जब हम ऑडिट करते हैं तो कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर की मैं पूरी बिल फाइल उससे मंगाता हूं कंपनी में, उसकी तो पूरी एक एक बिल को मैं डिटेल में वेरीफाई करता हूं, क्या इसमें ई वे बिल था, क्या इनवॉइस है, कितना अमाउंट है, और इस पे कितने % डेप्रिसिएशन होना है, सारी बातें इस पे तो मैं बहुत ज्यादा रिसर्च, इवन ऑडिटर्स यहाँ पे रिसर्च भी, पूरा बिल फाइल होती है पूरी अच्छी तरीके से बिल फाइल लगा के, और जरूरत पड़े तो जाके फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन, नैन्सी मैडम ने आपको बताया होगा, फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन भी हम करते हैं कि कहीं ये फर्जी बिल तो नहीं है, फेक बिल तो नहीं आपने ले लिए, और इनफैक्ट प्लांट कोई मशीनरी लगी ना हो। अब मान लीजिए प्लांट की लोकेशन दूर किसी रिमोट एरिया में भी प्लांट लगा दिया और हेड ऑफिस ऊपर दिल्ली में है, तो ऑडिटर कहने प्लान ए विजिट टू द प्लांट आल्सो, तो ये ऑडिटिंग एंगल है। ऑडिटिंग तो आपके दिमाग से भी चल सकती है, आप जो सोचो वेरीफाई करना वहां तक वेरीफाई कर सकते हो, तो आप इसमें कोई लिमिट नहीं कोई लगा सकता, ऑडिटर के ऊपर ना कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगा सकता है, आई एम टेलिंग यू। तो ऑडिटर को कंपनीज एक्ट में जो भी लॉस में ऑडिट होता है, इनफ पावर्स आर देयर विद द ऑडिटर, बट द थिंग इज हाउ यू प्रोसीड विद द ऑडिट। तो नैन्सी मैडम ने आपको समझाया है डिटेल में, आई एम श्योर, इस चैप्टर के अंदर। और एक बात मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि जो पॉइंट्स वहां पे वेरिफिकेशन पॉइंट्स लिखे हैं, उनसे एक्स्ट्रा भी अगर आप अपने माइंड से आप लिखोगे तो स्टूडेंट्स वी वेलकम दोज पॉइंट्स आल्सो, उसके भी आपको क्रेडिट दिया जाता है, ठीक है, राइट। अपने माइंड को आप जितना एक्सपेंड करोगे उतना इसमें आप गेन करोगे। तो इसलिए अकाउंटिंग के फंडामेंटल्स मैं आपको आज के लेक्चर में यही समझाना चाह रहा हूँ कि चीजों को कैसे समझना है, कैसे अंडरस्टैंड करना है, और उस पर टाइम जरूर लगाओ। मैंने जैसे आपको टाइम लगाया इस पे, हेल्ड फॉर यूज पे कितना टाइम लगाया मैंने, मेरे ख्याल से 20-25 मिनट तो लगाए हैं कम से कम। तो दिस काइंड ऑफ टाइम इन्वेस्टमेंट इज मस्ट, ओनली देन यू विल बी एबल टू टेक द थिंग्स फॉरवर्ड। तो आज के लेक्चर में मैंने आपको ये समझाया कि अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग कैसे बनानी है। होप एंड देन स्टूडेंट्स आर, कोई रिस्पॉन्स है स्टूडेंट्स का कोई?
Yes, sir, we have actually benefited from the discussions that you have just done. So, Pooja is saying that with respect to spare parts, that if it meet the PPE condition, then it will be considered as a PPE. And students are thanking you, like Sandeep is saying, sir, thank you for your strategies. These are definitely going to help them.
तो आप किसी भी सब्जेक्ट में स्टूडेंट्स, थ्योरी के सब्जेक्ट्स में आप ये वाली स्ट्रेटेजी से ही चलिए, अंडरस्टैंडिंग अपनी डीपन कीजिए। मैं आपको ये मैसेज देना चाह रहा हूँ, कभी भी ऊपर से चीजों को मत पढ़िए कि ये लाइन पढ़ के मैंने छोड़ दी, उसमें आप गेन नहीं, अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं बना पाओगे, और फिर लर्निंग डिफिकल्ट लगेगी आपको। अब लर्निंग तो मेरे ख्याल से अभी मैंने आपको समझाया तो साथ साथ हो गई होगी, आपको तीनों पॉइंट्स आपके माइंड में स्टैब्लिश हो गए, आई एम श्योर। और इसको कल परसों आप रिवाइज कर लो 3 दिन तक, तो कभी आप जिंदगी में भी पीपी नहीं भूलोगे, ठीक है ना। तो फिर इस तरह से आप करो। तो मैं स्टूडेंट्स रियली विश करता हूं कि आप जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स मैडम से पढ़ रहे हैं, और अभी मेरे को स्टूडेंट्स मेल करते हैं कि देखो सर मेरी जो स्ट्रेटजी है, इवन टुडे आई हैव गॉट द मेल इन माय मेल बॉक्स कि सर देखो आपकी स्ट्रेटजी से मेरे 65 मार्क्स आए ऑडिटिंग के अंदर, मेरे मेल पे है। तो ये स्ट्रेटजी सीए फाइनल ऑडिटिंग के लिए मैं बता रहा हूँ। तो स्टूडेंट्स जहां पे लोग 30-40 मार्क्स लेने से भी उनको लगता है कि 40 भी नहीं आएंगे, वहां पे 65 मार्क्स लेना भी एक अचीवमेंट है, और ये इस स्ट्रेटजी से ही आए हैं। तो स्टूडेंट्स आप स्ट्रेटजी टाइम टेस्टेड है, आप इसको फॉलो करो, और करने से होता है, मैं ये कहता हूँ खाली सोचने से नहीं होगा, आप उसको करना शुरू कर दो, इम्प्लीमेंट करना शुरू कर दो। तो आई थैंक ईच एंड एवरी स्टूडेंट फॉर पेशेंट लिसनिंग। थैंक यू नैन्सी।
Sir,
और
thank you.
ठीक है, थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
Okay, sir. So students are saying that they will definitely follow your strategies, and whatever strategies you have discussed in the last sessions, those strategies with respect to learning of definitions, a reservoir, 300 questions, like the way you
Okay.
gave, so that has definitely helped them.
What we want from students की जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स हमसे पढ़ रहे हैं वो हमारी स्ट्रेटेजी भी साथ फॉलो करेंगे, तो दे विल कम आउट विद फ्लाइंग कलर्स, और रिजल्ट भी उनके अच्छे आएंगे होपफुली। इन पर्टिकुलरली ऑडिटिंग में अच्छे मार्क्स लेके आएंगे वो, बिकॉज न्यूमेरिकल की स्ट्रेटेजी नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में जब मैं आऊंगा तो न्यूमेरिकल की भी स्ट्रेटेजी तुमने बोला था मुझे, आई रिमेम्बर दैट।
Right, sir. Also, there is a query with respect to practical subjects.
तो प्रैक्टिकल सब्जेक्ट्स की क्वेरी मैं जो है नेक्स्ट लेक्चर के अंदर जब मैं आऊंगा तो मैं आई विल डेफिनेटली लव टू डिस्कस दैट। और अभी मैं स्टूडेंट्स को यही कहूंगा कि अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग को डीपन करके लर्निंग शार्प, अंडरस्टैंडिंग डीपन होगी तो लर्निंग अपने आप शार्प हो जाती है, और लर्निंग हमारी रिटेंशन भी बढ़ जाती है उस केस में। चलो, थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
With respect to like one query which is coming again and again.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
So if you can take up in the next session. So Parth has asked with respect to time management while doing the exam, है ना, while writing the paper. So as to how to manage. So your voice is.
Yes. Now can you listen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Yes. टाइम मैनेजमेंट, इट इज अगेन, अभी एग्जाम आपका जैसे अभी 2 months आर देयर में, आई सपोज 1.5 month तो है ही, 2 months आर देयर, 2 months आर देयर ना, 2.5 months आर देयर रादर। तो अभी मैं सबसे पहले द बिगेस्ट टाइम मैनेजमेंट में जो बिगेस्ट मैं इन जितने भी एग्जाम रिलेटेड मैटर्स हैं हमारे, जितनी पढ़ाई करनी है, हमने ये करना है, एग्जाम में लिखना है, जाके सारा कुछ करना है, मैं बिगेस्ट इंपॉर्टेंस एक ही चीज को देता हूं, बिगेस्ट इंपॉर्टेंस वो देता हूं तैयारी को। आप जितने भी आप मेरे से क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे, आप हमेशा जब भी आप क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे तो एक बात तो मैं हमेशा उसमें लाऊंगा ही लाऊंगा, और वो है तैयारी। अगर मेरी तैयारी, मान लीजिए मैं आपको कहता हूं ABCD लिख दो फटाफट से, और आप जिसको ABC नहीं आती वो तो हो सकता है 1 घंटे में भी नहीं लिखेगा वो, और जिसको टिप्स पे ABC है वो तो 1 ही मिनट में सारे A to Z फटाफट लिख देगा। तो टाइम मैनेजमेंट किसका ज्यादा बेटर होगा? तो जितनी मेरी तैयारी अच्छी होगी उतना मेरा टाइम मैनेजमेंट एग्जाम में बेटर आने वाला है, ये 100% श्योर। जितनी आपकी चीजें माइंड में स्टेब्लिश होंगी, आपको क्लैरिटी ऑफ थॉट जितना होगा उतना टाइम मैनेजमेंट आपका। तो ये क्वेश्चन आप माइंड से अभी डिलीट कर दो, जिसने भी ये क्वेश्चन पूछा है, अभी आप अपना फोकस करो तैयारी पर, टाइम मैनेजमेंट अपने आप अच्छा हो जाएगा। ये उसका बाई प्रोडक्ट है, टाइम मैनेजमेंट सीधे सीधे बाई प्रोडक्ट है आपकी तैयारी का। क्योंकि मेरी तैयारी अच्छी होगी, मैं एग्जाम में बेटर होने वाला है, 100% श्योर हूं मैं। तो आप अभी तैयारी पे फोकस करो, आपका टाइम मैनेजमेंट, आई एश्योर यू, आपका टाइम मैनेजमेंट बेटर ही होने वाला, बहुत अच्छा होने वाला, धीरे धीरे बहुत अच्छा। इसलिए टाइम, मैं कहता हूँ टाइम डिवोशन अभी मौका है आपके पास 2.5 महीने का, आप इसको जितना ज्यादा पढ़ोगे उतना ज्यादा। आप देखो अभी अपनी एक्टिविटीज को, मैं सिंपली स्टूडेंट्स को एडवाइस करता हूँ कि आप हाफ एन आवर सैर करो रोज बस। इसके अलावा आप उठे तो आपके हाथ में किताब होनी चाहिए, बुक्स होनी चाहिए, और आप जब नींद आए आपको सो जाओ उस समय, उठो तो आपके, और आपकी एक्टिविटीज जो डेली एक्टिविटीज हम करनी है तो आपके 12-14 घंटे रोज निकलने चाहिए। इस अगर आप इतने आवर्स आप डिवोट करने में केयरफुली डिवोट करो, ऐसा नहीं कि किताब उधर है और दिमाग उधर चल रहा है। बी फोकस्ड ऑन योर स्टडीज, आप उसको अंडरस्टैंडिंग में सोचते रहो, चीजों को अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप, लर्निंग करते रहो। थक जाओ, जब एक सब्जेक्ट से टायर्ड हो जाए तो दूसरा फटाफट से न्यूमेरिकल उठा लो। थ्योरी से अगर आप लर्न कर करके भी, लर्निंग की भी लिमिटेशन होती है, तो उसके बाद आप न्यूमेरिकल उठा लो। न्यूमेरिकल से अगर थोड़ा वो हुए तो तीसरा सब्जेक्ट उठाओ। क्योंकि मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था कि जो एग्जाम पास आ जाता है तो सारे सब्जेक्ट्स एक दिन करना बेस्ट स्ट्रेटेजी होती है। यानी कि आप एक ही सब्जेक्ट करते रहे सारा दिन, ऐसा मत करना। उसमें जल्दी बोरियत होती है, जल्दी पढ़ाई से इंटरेस्ट खत्म होता है। तो चारों सब्जेक्ट आप अगर डेली आप पिकअप करोगे तो आपका कभी बोरियत नहीं होगी, और इंटरेस्ट से हमेशा आप एंजॉयमेंट करके करो स्टडीज को। इट इज ऑलवेज एन एंजॉयमेंट, ये बर्डन नहीं है मेरे लिए कि मैंने तो करना है, मैंने तो इसको खुशी से करना है, बहुत अच्छे से करना है। तो और मैंने तैयारी करनी है, आगे जो रिजल्ट आएगा आएगा, रिजल्ट तो ऑटोमेटिकली बहुत अच्छा ही आने वाला है। तो और कोई क्वेरी है एनसी स्टूडेंट्स की? तो ये तो मैंने एड्रेस किया है कि टाइम मैनेजमेंट अपने आप अच्छा होगा अगर आपकी तैयारी अच्छी होगी। यू फोकस ऑन योर प्रिपरेशन फर्स्ट।
Right, right.
Is there any query, any more query?
Sir, as of now, so I can see only this query, Hana. And if I get any query, so I'll let you know.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you, and all the best for each and every student. और आप तैयारी बहुत अच्छी करो. This is what I wish for you. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your. Thank you. So, students, I hope you all have benefited from sir's suggestions, and you will definitely and you should follow all the strategies that have been advised to you by sir. Okay? And I'm sure that if you follow all those strategies, now you are definitely going to pass with flying colors. Okay? So now back to our discussions on chapter number 9. So we were discussing the descriptive questions. So let us have a look at the questions. We were at 11th question. Okay? And students, please, with respect to your queries, whatever you want sir to answer, please send in your query. Your queries will definitely be answered in the next session as and when sir will interact with you. Okay? So now question number 11th quickly. Please send in your replies. So, Besses ABC and Associates are the statutory auditors of PQR Limited for the financial year 2021. While briefing the team about the audit plan and audit program, CA Arnab, the engagement partner, asked one of the team members, Mr. Rohit, to check the company whether the company has made the appropriate disclosure with respect to trade receivable. Okay? So again, students, please read the question carefully. This question is not only with respect to what the entire trade receivable verification, but disclosure requirement is being asked. Okay? So please read the question carefully and please send in your replies. Appropriate disclosure with respect to trade receivables. What all should Mr. Rohit check in this regard? Please send in your replies. What all shall Mr. Rohit check in this regard? Okay? So send in your replies with respect to disclosure requirements of trade receivables. Right? And a very important disclosure that you will have to make is what? With respect to aging schedule of trade receivables. Hana? So it has been given on page number 9.36. So aging schedule to dena hi hai. That table which has been given, along with that, whether the trade receivables are what? Secured and considered good or unsecured considered good, doubtful, allowance, Hana? And any debt which are due to the directors or officers or any firm or private company where the director is director, a partner or a member. Okay? And very, very important is what? Your aging schedule with respect to trade receivables. Okay? Now, question number 12. Name the assertion that the auditor will check by performing the following audit procedures. Employee benefit expense in respect of all personals have been fully booked, accounted for. Now again, I told you that students get confused in these questions. Hana? So in order to understand the various assertions, I've asked you that the examples that are being given on page number 9.5, 9.4, you need to refer to those examples. You need to understand those examples in detail. Okay? So all, so it shows what? Send in your replies, then only I'll write the answer. So it is what? Completeness. ठीक है? Then the second part, discounts on sales have been properly adjusted, accounted for. So this is what your measurement part, right? Parth, Harsh, Sandeep, Menon, correct. Hana, Pooja, you are also correct. With respect to B, it is what? Measurement. Then employee benefit expense recorded during the period relates to the current period only. Current period only, cut off. Hana? So the keywords, and as sir said, the deep understanding about the various assertions. Okay. 13th question. What audit procedures are generally required to be undertaken while auditing the following: rent expenses and legal and professional expenses? So this to we have done today itself. So it is given on page number 9.100. 9.99 and 9.100. Okay. What audit procedures are generally required to be undertaken while auditing depreciation and amortization? List any 5. Hana? So this also we have done today, that obtain a schedule. है ना, कैलकुलेशन देखना है, और क्या देखना है, ऑथराइजेशन है या नहीं, रिमेंबर, फिजिकली वेरीफाई, राइट. So this is on page number 9.96. I'll quickly now discuss these questions since it's already 8:30. Hana? So students, in case of any doubt, you can just send in your queries. Now question number 15. Messrs. Ram and Associates are the statutory auditors of LMN Limited for the financial year 2021. Okay. While briefing the team about audit plan with respect to verification of PPE, CA Ram, the engagement partner, asked one of the team members to ensure entity has a valid legal right over the ownership. Okay. So this is talking about, ऊपर कौन सा क्वेश्चन आया था, इन्वेंट्री के लिए वैलिड लीगल ओनरशिप राइट, एंड दिस इज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू राइट्स एंड ऑब्लिगेशंस ओवर व्हाट, द PPE. ठीक है. So please read the question carefully. It should not happen that when you see what PPE, you start writing about the general procedures with respect to PPE. So with respect to rights and obligations, so page number 9.51. ठीक है. So just a minute. Now with respect to 16th question. StudyMate Limited is a company engaged in the manufacture of stationery items. The company sells its item on credit. The debtors as on 31st March 2022 amounted to 10 crores. What is the disclosure requirement for the company with respect to aging schedule? Very, very important, Hana. The table that you will have to make, Hana, with respect to the disclosure of trade receivables, that is outstanding for a period from due from less than 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, 1 year to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, more than 3 years, Hana. And usme be undisputed considered good, undisputed considered doubtful, disputed considered good, and disputed considered doubtful. Then it shall start from where, in case the due date is not mentioned, then from the date of transaction, and unbilled dues shall be disclosed separately. Every point will come. Okay? So this is on page number 9.36, and I suppose the last question, which is what? Messrs. Ram and Associates are the statutory auditors of Venus Limited for financial year 21-22. One of the engagement team members, Mr. Rohit, asked the engagement partner CA Raj to tell him about the disclosure requirement with respect to PPE under construction. ठीक है. So disclosure of what? PP under construction, that is capital work in progress in terms of Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act. What is the disclosure requirement with respect to PPE? Very, very important. I told you that all the notes you can get a direct question कि इसके लिए auditor को क्या check करना है. So it is given on page. Students, tell me, is there any query as of now? And I know that you all asked me to revise certain topics, but see, the time is not permitting us to revise. Hana? But we have done all all these topics in detail, and after doing the entire topic, I have revised all the topics. Hana? So you can refer to those videos. Okay? So send in your reply. In case you have any doubt with respect to the questions that we have discussed. Okay, and also tell me whether you have understood or not. समझ आया है, कैसे समझना है? First of all this, then how to learn, ठीक है? And how to make the summaries or pick up the keywords in order to, remember the main words. The answer. ठीक है? Students, send in your replies. ठीक है? So with this, we have finished chapter number 9, which is audit of items of financial statements. And again, as sir has told you that with respect to this chapter, and in fact with respect to other chapters also, you need to have, particularly for this chapter, the understanding of accounting standards, the understanding of your provisions of Companies Act, your Schedule 3, Schedule 2, which we have discussed today, to the Companies Act. So please keep all that knowledge in your mind when you are understanding as to what audit procedures are to be done when the auditor is verifying the various items of financial statement. Okay? And since you have done all the assertions with respect to P&L item, with respect to balance sheet item, in case you get any item which we have not discussed in your examination paper, I'm sure that you will be able to write the answer. Okay? So hoping that you all have understood, you all have enjoyed this session, these sessions relating to chapter number 9. Okay? So I'll end this session here. In case any of your queries is still left unanswered, you can send in your queries. I'll discuss them at the end of the next session. Okay? So thank you for being a patient listener and have a good night. And please send in your query in your replies whether you have also understood as to how to learn, students, because learning is very, very important. Okay? So thank you and bye-bye.